Indianapolis, 3rd and 4. Again, pressure, and it's picked. Because of the blitz, they pick it off with Watson. Pickup of 10, now over to Rice on the run with a blocker in front. Wiley in front, and Rice is free to the end zone for a Kansas City touchdown. Going to the end zone, and he's there. It's Lamb who converts for the 3rd time on 3rd down on this drive, and it's a touchdown for Dallas. Mahomes looking, taking off. Going to try to beat him with his legs. Got tripped up, but he still kept his balance for a 1st down inside the 10. Mahomes looking in the end zone, and he goes to Kelsey for the touchdown. 2nd and 1. They've got the burst, and look out. Here goes Davis. Malik Davis to the end zone, and the Cowboys take the lead. Can they convert here? Prescott looking around in trouble. He flips it to Williams for the touchdown. Here's Mahomes rolling in trouble. Now throws, and is pulled down for the catch. The touchdown by Rice.
There's nothing on this play. Like, there's nothing. Nothing's open. Nothing's anywhere. I would tell you that's like, oh, this is backyard football. Well, there's nobody better. And running to his left and making the ball go back to his right at the exact time on a post-up route. Wow.
3rd and 6. Quinnen Williams tripped him up, but he's still going and heaving it down the field. Wide open is Worthy. Unbelievable play by Mahomes. Mahomes going to the end zone. Back of the end zone. Caught. Tiptoe. Touchdown. Wow. Hollywood Brown.
All right, a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Jack Johnson, Michael Darcy heading up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours we've got you. Hopefully everybody is safe out there on the roads. Very slick Monday, snowy Monday, snow day for a lot of kids out there. I always wondered this, that why is it when you have school that day and you wake up, you're tired, and you can't really get going, and it's like, oh, you're just dragging. And then when you find out it's a snow day, you're like, hell yeah, let's go. It's got all the excitement and the juices flowing, yet the snow day should be like, oh, cool, I get to go back to bed. Let me go back to bed. Because that was this morning in my house. That, all right, kids, get up. Kids, it's a snow day. Yeah! Cheering, jumping around, high-fiving, hugging, celebrating. Like, if this was a regular day, we couldn't get you up. It would be time to go.
Got to start telling them it's the snow day in July.
Snow day kids are up. Ha, gotcha. But now that you're up, it is time to brush your teeth, get dressed. Let's go down. Let's eat. Let's roll. Out of the house. Here we go. It is a Monday edition. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us to be a part of the show. 913-912-4810 text line to hang out with us. We will talk with Field Yates coming up an hour from now. He is our NFL insider from ESPN. Get his thoughts on the Chiefs, the NFL, the playoffs, the AFC, the Houston Texans, and this Chiefs team moving forward, which may be a week from now. We're talking about moving forward into the postseason. I know a lot of people have started that conversation already. The Chiefs are now in must-win territory, and the odds of them rattling off 5 wins in a row you'd think would be pretty tough, considering that they are 1-3 in their last 4 games, when we have viewed them all as pretty significant games that had pretty significant playoff implications connected and tied to them. And yet they have lost 3 of those 4 games, and the one game that they did win, they trailed by double digits in the fourth quarter. They won in overtime. It has not been pretty. And now the only thing that they have to do is just simply win the rest of them. That's all. Just go 5-0. Going 1-3 the last 4 weeks against playoff teams or potential playoff teams. Now, just go win 5 in a row. With 3 of them against playoff teams or potential playoff teams. 2 of them, the next 2 weeks, teams you are chasing. I mean, this time next week, look, I said on Friday, I said, or Wednesday, I should say, Actually, you know what? I said it last Friday. Not this Friday, but the Friday before that. Can you go back? What is it? What was Friday's date? And then take 7 days off of that? But I said we could wake up a week from now on the Friday after Thanksgiving and this Chiefs team be 6-6. But as long as the one loss is against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, they'd still be alive. And I think that's the case. Because the Indianapolis Colts schedule is pretty rough the rest of the way. They are still 2 games behind them, but they have the tiebreaker. They are 2 games behind the Jags without the tiebreaker. They're a game behind the Texans, but they play them on Sunday night. They're a game behind the Chargers. They play them next Sunday. These are now playoff games for the Chiefs. We'll get into all of that. We'll talk about what has happened with this Chiefs team, how they are in this position, what we are seeing, and how, to me, this season is essentially could be a microcosm or the overall season could go the route of what some individual games did last year. We'll get into that as well, what happened in that Cowboys game and ruining football Thanksgiving maybe for a lot of people. We'll also get into the conversation going on around college football, the Lane Kiffin discussion, Ole Miss, LSU. I find it to be, quite frankly, hilarious. I mean, oftentimes my favorite thing is the commentary around topics, things that happen and how it is being addressed by some, either fans or people in the media, what have you. And this is no different. I mean, this has almost everything with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and college football and the playoffs and all of that. And we'll get into that and break that down too. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up in the noon hour. He will tell us what happened when he looked at the film to see some things that he cleaned up. Excuse me, things they need to clean up. I'm not saying he cleaned them up. I'm just saying they need to clean them up. It's kind of like me when it's like, after Thanksgiving. Look, honey, I get it. You and, you guys did a ton of work and cooking, and the spread was amazing. And there are all those dishes there, and there are dirty plates, and there's crumbs underneath the dinner table, crumbs in the dining room table, crumbs in the kitchen. There are things that I just need to clean up. I get it. And then on Friday, look, honey, you guys were unbelievable in everything that you did. And I will tell you, there are things I need to clean up. And then on Saturday, I just want to reiterate, honey, you guys were unbelievable. And there are things I do need to clean up. There are things that I need to clean up, and we're going to work on that. We're going to get around to that, and we're going to I'm going to watch the tape to see how other people see how my cleaning is not actually working here because I haven't been doing anything. And then on Sunday, at that point, it's been eliminated and it's already been cleaned, and there's no reason to go and say you need to clean some things up because now we're on to the off season of the Thanksgiving holiday. And then other people will be hosting, so I no longer have to clean things up. I feel like that's what the Chiefs are now. So Andy Reid's saying, there's some things to clean up, and there were things to clean up after Thanksgiving. It's just the people that probably should have been cleaning some things up didn't get around to it. Now, that is a metaphor because I actually did some cleaning, Jack. Okay, I actually did those things. I actually saw the things that needed to be cleaned up, assessed the situation, cleaned them up. But I look forward to the challenge of hearing Andy Reid today say that there are some things they just need to go and clean up.
I mean, it's almost an ongoing joke at this point. I mean, I know in Andy Reid's mind, it's how he's always spoke at the podium, right? Whether he was in Philadelphia, he was in Kansas City, winning Super Bowls, which you don't have to go that far back to find the last season in which he did that. But when you've gotten into this mode of, we need to clean things up, I mean, you go to any single press conference the last 15 years, that's what he said after a loss. But now it's a little bit different in Kansas City because when was the last time they've experienced a season like this? Certainly not under Patrick Mahomes. No. Even the last couple years of Alex Smith, there were not years, past the 12th game where they were in serious danger of missing the postseason. And yeah, I mean, they're favored on Sunday night against Houston. There's still that chance of them playing really good football the rest of the way. But how long are we going to hold on to that? How long are we going to keep holding on to Andy Reid's speech of, well, we got to clean things up? Why is it not cleaned up? We've said this over and over again. Why has it not been cleaned up when you've had these primetime games, these games that give you a chance to really boost yourself on the back half of the schedule? And I, for one, just based off what we've seen the last 5 to 6 years, I was floored at how poor they looked and how unprepared they looked on Thanksgiving against the Dallas team that was charged up and ready to go after the interception, right? Dallas had the pick, and I went, this seems like it's going to be one of those Chiefs games, like Christmas last year against Pittsburgh. They just steamrolled them the entire game. And they never looked prepared after that. The offense looked good for one quarter and then went into a shell. The play calling went into a shell. The defense, back to all the previous games this year, they couldn't get a big stop. And I get they've got Pickens and they've got CeeDee Lamb, Javonte Williams. They've got some playmakers, and Dak had a really good game outside of the interception. But you're the Kansas City Chiefs. You shouldn't be talking about cleaning things up after the 12th game of the year. Whatever you needed to clean up, it should have been done 5 games into the season, and the fact we're still echoing this over and over again, and I'll spoil everybody the surprise here. They lose on Sunday night, we got to clean some things up before the Chargers next Sunday.
That's true. Yeah, they will need to clean some things up. I mean, because if you lose, there's some things to clean up, clearly. You just got to get back to work and do some cleaning there. Look, I mean, and spoils some things as well, that after Sunday night, if they lose to the Texans, then there's really no need to talk much about cleaning some things up. Because I think it's must-win territory the rest of the way. They can certainly get into the playoffs with 10 wins. If they go 4-1 the rest of the way and they end up 10-7, I think they can. They need some things to bounce in their favor. And I would guess that if they go 10-7, the loss they need to happen is against the Broncos. I mean, because it would be really tough for you to find yourself in the playoffs with 10 wins without the tiebreaker over the Chargers, the Texans, and the Jags. Only a tiebreaker over the Colts. And that is hoping that Pittsburgh would then win the AFC North. And you would have a tiebreaker over Baltimore. And I would say to assume that Baltimore would only win 4 games, but if Baltimore wins more than that, they're going to win I think they're going to win the division. Pittsburgh's schedule is absurd the rest of the way. So I think there's a chance that, Pittsburgh only, wins 3 more games the rest of the way. I don't think Pittsburgh gets to 10 wins. So I don't think Pittsburgh is a team the Chiefs should be all that worried about. I think Baltimore wins the division. And then if you're talking about the Chiefs making the playoffs, if Jacksonville wins the division, which I think will happen, then it's about, can you finish ahead of 2 of Indianapolis, Houston, and the Chargers? 2 of those teams are your next 2 games. Like, that's playoff football right there, because you need to finish ahead of 2 of them. If I create that scenario I just did, you have to finish ahead of 2 of those teams, because Buffalo's in. Buffalo's going to end up with at least 11 wins. They've got 8 right now. They've got a couple of built-in wins on their schedule already. So they're going to end up with 11 wins, and they got the tiebreaker over you. Buffalo's already in the playoffs, I think. And then the 4 division winners means there's 2 wild card spots left. Means you have to finish ahead of a couple of these other teams. And that means you have to beat out Houston, the Chargers, or the Colts. I think they can beat out the Colts, because I think there's a decent chance the Colts, honestly, I think there's a chance the Colts could lose out the rest of the way. I mean, they go to Jacksonville, they go to Seattle, then they play the 49ers at home and the Jags at home. I think they can win both those games, but then they go to Houston at the end of the season, which could be a playoff game for the Texans. I mean, Indianapolis could end up with only 10 wins. And if they do, and the Chiefs get to 10, well, now you've got the tiebreaker over Indianapolis. But it's finishing ahead of either Houston or LA. And you can't lose the next 2 weeks and think you're going to finish ahead of them without a tiebreaker there. That's what's so crucial about the next 2 weeks here. And obviously, when I say 4-1, it means you win one of these next 2 games. But as I said, if they go 4-1, probably the best thing would be to lose to the Broncos, because then you would have the tiebreaker at least over Houston, and then depending on some other things with the Chargers. But What's concerning, Jack, is besides a lot of things that we can get into, and I think we will do a whole lot more discussing over the next couple of weeks if they don't come away 2-0 in these next 2 Sundays. If we're sitting here a week from Sunday, so in 14 days from now, and we're talking about the Chiefs being 6-8, well, then we are having the conversation about the offseason, the draft, what went wrong this year. We can have it right now, certainly, but it'll be on hyperdrive at that point, because then the games won't matter. You're not going to make the playoffs at 9-8 with losses to the Jags and Texans and the tiebreaker not with the Chargers and all of that stuff. But what is concerning about specifically the next couple of weeks is you say, okay, now they're in must-win mode. They're in playoff mode. They got to go out and win these games. But yet we've said that, and they're 1-3 in the last 4 weeks when we've said this is a huge game against the Bills. All right, you get the bye week. It's a huge game against the Broncos. That was tough. You didn't play well. It's a huge game against the Colts.
Pivotal game.
Pivotal, yes. Pivotal game 3. It's a pivotal game 4. It's a pivotal game 5. Huge game against the Colts. You're down double digits. You win in overtime. Huge game against the Cowboys, because if you win that one, you feel like you're in the playoffs. Because that would give you 7 wins, and you've got 2 wins already built in with the Titans and the Raiders. That gives you 9 right there. Now can you go 2-1 against Houston, L.A., or Denver, and you're in the playoffs? You go 1-2. Depending on who you lose to, you might be in the playoffs there as well. 1-3 in those games, and each individual game, Jack, it's like, well, they did this there, they did that there, they did this there, they did that there. And I've said this line before, and people that have listened know that I've said this line. It's one of the only things that I've taken away from Bobby Petrino, besides what I think he is. But the line that he gave about, talking to his dad one year. His dad was a Montana high school football coaching, legend. And Bobby Petrino's a head coach. And he's talking to his dad, and he's like, well, we lost this game because this happened over there. And it's just like, we didn't do this right there, and we lost that game. And if you put those things differently, you win. And then we lost this game because of that little thing over there. And it's just like, we're so close. And his dad was like, well, I know what the issue is. He said, what? He said, you're not very good. That's the problem. And that's what's going on with the Chiefs. Because the underlying metrics, Jack, say this and that, and they should be better in point differential, and they're top 10 in offense and top 10 in defense. But the record says they're 6-6. You know why? Because they're not very good. And that's the issue right now, is a not very good team finds themselves in these positions where you've got to make plays at certain times, and you almost have to be perfect at certain times in the fourth quarter. They were against the Colts. If they weren't, we'd be talking about 0-4. They weren't against the Broncos, they weren't against the Bills, and they weren't against the Cowboys. And now we're expecting them to flip that around against other teams fighting for their playoff lives.
Well, it'll sound harsh when I say this, but the folks out there, anybody that you point to point differential, you point to, well, they had a lead in the fourth quarter and they blew it. I know in college football, a lot of Kansas fans can relate to that. Or in baseball, you say, well, we were 500, but we had a plus 40 run differential. Well, you are what your record says you are at this point. It's what losing teams, losing cultures do, is they point to, well, if that happened, we would be really good. Well, yeah, that's the case for anything here. You still have to close out football games. You still have to get the big stop. And the only thing that we're holding on to right now, the reality is we're holding on to the past version of the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Oh, they should be able to win these final 5 games. Yeah, we've said that all season long. We thought so many times this year there was the wake-up call loss, right? At first it was maybe the Philadelphia game. You're 0-2. You got to wake up rather quickly or you can't be 0-3. And then they went into New York or they went into Jersey and beat the Giants. Then they had that loss to Jacksonville. That had to be the wake-up call game, especially for the defense. And yet they lost games after that. The Denver game felt like a pivotal one where in the 5 previous years, you put that game on the schedule for any one of those Chiefs teams. Even last year, the one that beat everybody by 1 score, they win that football game. And this team, it almost feels like every time you hear them speak, they're expecting it too. It's like, oh, we're not panicked. We know that we're going to be fine. We just got it. We're facing some adversity right now. Well, time's running out for you. And yeah, you might go out there and win on Sunday night against Houston. It'd be a huge win for you tiebreaker-wise to get back over 500. But we also thought after the Indianapolis game, they would take that into Thanksgiving and beat Dallas, who had all this emotion, beating the Eagles after being down 21-0, the perfect spot. I'm pretty sure I called it a perfect spot for the Chiefs, even on a short week, because Dallas is usually a team that underachieves. And lo and behold, they were so prepared for that game. They knew how to attack the Chiefs defensively, which they've been awful this year. They knew how to shut down Patrick Mahomes in the second half, aside from a few plays here and there. And, I would love to see this sense of urgency. And unfortunately, we haven't seen any sense of urgency. We hear Andy Reid every single week say we got to clean things up. We hear the players say, yeah, you can't have that happen, but we got to make sure we don't do it again. Well, should we even hold these press conferences anymore if this is what's going to be said over and over again? If nobody's going to step up and say, we're actually done doing this. We had, not that team meetings do anything, let's be honest, they never really do. But if somebody, I would love to see somebody step in front of the mic and really bring up how unacceptable some of these losses have been, and it still is the NFL. It's tough to win. You lost to a team that's pretty hot right now, and most of your losses this year have been against good football teams. But you need to start viewing yourself in the light of being a 3-time Super Bowl winning team and how 6-6 is unacceptable at this point in the season.
I heard after the game, you hear from different players and coaches and everything, and some of the players talking about, you had opportunities there in the fourth quarter when Dallas was driving right before that last Aubrey field goal, when they did get a stop. But they got a stop after Mike Edwards almost intercepted the ball. And it almost bounced to Ashton Gelati. And then Trent McDuffie made a play on Pickens and stripped the football. And the Chiefs almost recovered it, but Turpin did, who was, running. And
hell of a play.
It was a great play by him. And it's one of those things where you're just sort of unlucky. And you know why you're unlucky? Because if Drew Tranquil had been dogging it, he would have recovered the football. But he busted his ass to get over there and was there tackling George Pickens and couldn't get up in time to get the football. Had Tranquil just been like, oh, well, Trent McDuffie has him, he would have been right there to go and scoop and maybe score. So it's not for a lack of effort on some of these things that are there. I wish it was for that one.
Yes.
That would have been great. But even the team talking about, well, such a missed opportunity by not recovering that. So then you lose 31-28. Final score is still the same. Because it would have been 28 apiece at that point, 28-21 instead of 31-21. Chiefs went down and scored a touchdown to be behind by 3. But if you recover that, now it's a tie game. The Cowboys were running out the clock and got to your 20-yard line. They were trying to run out the clock and got to your 20. What would they have done if they were trying to score to win the game at the end with Aubrey as the kicker? They lose that game regardless. They lose that game even if they recover that fumble. Because the defense couldn't get a stop. And against the Colts, they did. And it was amazing. And they won that game. But they couldn't in this one. And that was one of my concerns going into the game. And I said before this game, I picked the Chiefs. But early in the season or early in the week, I was not confident about the game. As the week went on, I got more confident because I thought Mahomes was going to have an amazing game. I thought it was going to be your typical Mahomes game and in Dallas and over my dead body type game that we hear from the late, great Terez Paylor that coined that. And, Mahomes threw 4 touchdowns, no interceptions at a 130 quarterback rating, put another 30 yards on the board in rushing and had some big moments where he, ran the ball that pass to Worthy when he was tripped up and then jumped over another attempted tackle and threw the ball. That was amazing. I started getting more confident because I thought that would be the case. I thought this team could play from in front, which would help the defense. But my commentary on the Chiefs' defense was the best receiver the Chiefs are going up against this season is George Pickens. And the second best receiver the Chiefs have seen this season is CeeDee Lamb. The way that Pickens was playing, you can argue 1 or 2, I don't care. Point is, this is the best and second best receiver this Chiefs team has faced this year. And it's a better quarterback than Bo Nix throwing to those guys if he sped up in Dak Prescott and Daniel Jones. Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones and Bo Nix in those situations. And he found a way to make plays. Oh, by the way, I just looked. I'm being told that the Cowboys just ran another slant route.
On a pivotal third down.
Yeah. Spags is like, oh, darn it. I didn't think they were going to do that. Watson's like, he faked outside, and I thought he was going to go outside this time. Like, he did a little juke move outside, and I'm like, now's the time he's going to go outside. And he didn't. He went inside. Again, got me. Oh, man, that slant route is just so tough. Now, it is difficult when he's pushing off, but here's an idea, and this I'm just spitballing here. What if you shade so drastically to the inside for Jalen Watson? So drastically to the inside. And then you put somebody over there with George Pickens as well in that spot so he can't run the slant. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here for what the Cowboys were doing. Or they can just keep doing what they were doing, which was just sitting back and letting it go one-on-one with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. But that was obviously frustrating. But I think they still end up losing that game 31-28, even if they recovered that fumble. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. And besides cleaning some things up, we heard a message from Andy Reid, which I think is just distracting. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the things that took place in that game that are bigger issues this year that could affect them the rest of the way. Can they win out? Certainly. What is it going to take? We'll talk about that. And then I do want to discuss, maybe even briefly, the commentary the last couple of years from Broncos fans. Tells us what they actually think of their team. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Jack Johnson hanging out with us. Michael Darcy here on this Monday edition. We'll get into some college football as the show progresses. An hour from now, we will talk with Field Yates. The Chiefs have had opportunities in so many different games, and we've talked about different things not happening and different things and different guys not coming through. And you look at what took place on Thanksgiving and the chances that were there, but a penalty here or there, right, wrong, or indifferent. Like, I'm not complaining about the officials. Find a way to overcome the officials. I mean, get stops other places. Don't have 4 straight punts. And I know that a couple of those punts ended up being punts because of penalties that either were or were not penalties that were there. Offensive pass interference and the holding on Josh Simmons. Whatever. You get some good calls, you get some bad calls. Some things go your way, some things don't go your way. Sometimes you get a good whistle, you get a bad whistle. I don't think the Chiefs got a good whistle. But I don't leave that game going, the refs screwed them, and if the refs were better, they would have won that game. Maybe. Maybe not. Just because, they complete that pass to Hollywood Brown, and if it's not offensive pass interference, do they score a touchdown? Does Butker miss a field goal? Do they have another penalty that moves them back another 10 yards that they end up having to punt? Is it a turnover? Like, it doesn't mean they're going to go down and score. This hasn't been an offense that, boy, if you just take away that penalty here or there, they're scoring touchdowns on every drive. And that is, to me, what was one of the more disappointing parts of that game is this is a Dallas defense and a Dallas secondary that is awful. They're not good, the secondary. And yet, while Mahomes threw 4 touchdowns and no interceptions, like, it did feel like it was a much more difficult passing the ball. I thought it was going to be closer to like Raiders and Commanders and things like that, the offense against the Dallas Cowboys secondary. And that wasn't the case. And, getting sacked 3 times as well, is unfortunate. Now, you had 3 linemen in there at one point that were backup offensive linemen, Moore and Wanya and Caliendo. And we'll see if that's the case this weekend. Maybe it's just Jalen Moore is the only backup in there for Josh Simmons at left tackle, and Jawan Taylor and Trey Smith can return and all of that stuff. We'll see. We'll find out. But you had different guys that were out in different spots, and you leave that game and you're going offensively. They didn't have guys make enough plays, and you've had 2 different games this year where the Chiefs have lost on the road where your number 1 receiver drops a ball. You've had games this year where Travis Kelce has just dropped a ball. Now, that touchdown catch was unbelievable because he was being pulled and grabbed and turned around. The ball was in the air while he's being pulled, and he gets his hands up at the last minute and catches that ball. That was a much more difficult play than what it seemed like in real time, where it was just throw the ball, he reaches up and catches it when you watch it on replay. There's some guys that have made plays, but Rashee Rice can't drop that ball. I mean, that was a punt. Instead of catching the ball and moving into Cowboys territory. Rashee Rice can't drop the ball before halftime against the Denver Broncos. That's in his hands. Xavier Worthy's a first-round draft pick and has yet to learn to come back to the football. That throw down the sideline on a free play to Xavier Worthy, he gave up. He just started jogging thinking that the play was over, then looked up and, oh, wait, okay, it's to me. But again, he has an inability to go back to the football. He just continues to fade away. And it isn't just on those plays. There was a couple plays this year where he's coming across the field and the ball is thrown to him and he's still fading towards the other goal line and a safety comes in and knocks it away. Go get the football. It's coming to you. Don't keep fading away when you should have the depth perception of who is around you. Because right now he's Mecole Hardman with a first-round draft pick status. He's Mecole Hardman with a better 40 right now. That's what Xavier Worthy has become this year. Now, whether that's the use by the Chiefs and how they're deploying him, or that is just simply the player that he is until he learns some of these other parts of the game. But when you have Rashee Rice that you're talking about, do you pay him? Is he a number 1 receiver? Well, I mean, you can find ways to get him the ball, and he's really good after the catch. But that can't happen on third down, and it certainly can't happen in Denver as well when you're trying to win some of these games. And you can't have big money guys that you've paid. It may be a mistake that they paid him, but they've paid him. You can't have big money guys have crucial misses on certain downs. McDuffie got manhandled in that game. They haven't paid him yet. We could talk about whether they should. I've already weighed in on that. But they paid Nick Bolton. And Chris Jones took complete responsibility for that, Davis run up the middle for the 43-yard touchdown. And Chris Jones, that was bad. He escaped his spot. But Nick Bolton's paid way too much money to get displaced by a fullback. Not even get a hand on him. Not even close the hole a little bit. Bump into him. Breathe on him. Nothing. He goes into the hole and he gets moved out of the way by a fullback. He makes way too much money just to be a guy that calls out the plays. We know he can't cover. If you can't cover and you're making that much money, you can't get displaced by a fullback in that hole. Chris Jones doesn't need to leave that area. Agreed, he took responsibility for it. But it's also about doing your job. And Nick Bolton didn't do his job either. And Chris Jones makes up for it by a lot of different plays that he makes and helping others out. Nick Bolton hasn't done a whole lot of making up for it except for guys are in the right spot. And they paid him. And they paid Trey Smith. And they paid Christian Fulton. And they paid Jalen Moore, which I was fine with Jalen Moore. Paid Elijah Mitchell. And Javonte Williams is on the other side running the football. Like, there were decisions that were made in this offseason, and there are going to have to be decisions made in this coming offseason about who they pay and who they don't pay. And there are guys right now that should be playing for their futures with the Chiefs, and some of them are not coming through and making enough plays to warrant that. Jalen Watson made a lot of money this year, and he lost it on Thursday because he got manhandled by George Pickens. And if you're going to pay that guy to be a cornerback, he can't, get manhandled by another good receiver. Pickens may be amazing, but Jalen Watson was completely overmatched in that game. There's just a number of things where you're looking at this guy steps up, this guy steps up, this is a reason why you're good, this can be a reason why you're good. And those guys this year haven't made enough plays in crucial moments, and it still feels like it goes back to Mahomes, save us, and Andy Reid and Matt Nagy, let me try to scheme up something cool and come through in a situation, and it's, too little too late in a lot of these games.
Well, not that it's a super comparable, comparison here, I guess I should say. But I remember the final years of Tom Brady in New England was that for years he was able to get it done sometimes with a lackluster receiving crew. They felt Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, they felt that, we can just, let certain guys walk. We're just going to replace them with who we can because we know that Tom Brady's the constant. Tom Brady's able to elevate these guys and win multiple Super Bowls. Now, Patrick Mahomes still has a ways to go before he would match Brady's total, but it's felt the last couple of years because of Patrick Mahomes winning with a certain receiving core, a certain defense, that it's, we can just operate the same, right? He's able to win Super Bowls with MVS dropping passes and Juju is his number one. He's able to get to the Super Bowl without Rashee Rice and Worthy's the number one and Justin Watson's the number three. But to me, sometimes you need that true wake-up call where, we want to make it easier on a guy that also isn't getting any younger. Patrick Mahomes is not old by any means, but he's not 25 years old anymore, right? He's going to enter the back half of his career post 30 years old. What do you want to do for those older quarterbacks? Once you get to your mid-30s, your late 30s, you give them the help they need. And I thought the Chiefs were active in the offseason to some extent, but they paid guys where, correct me if I'm wrong, when they got those deals announced, it was kind of they actually ended up paying Nick Bolton. Wow, they ended up paying Trey Smith and trading Joe Thuney. Wow, they gave Christian Fulton that contract. Wow, they paid George Karlaftis. It didn't feel like the typical offseason where they make one move and you go, wow, that's a really good fit. Wow, it's a really good decision. Because it felt like the last couple of years, offensively, it's been, don't even worry about, the offense. They're going to be able to line it up. We're counting Rashee Rice as a free agent acquisition because he was gone all of last year, basically. Worthy in year 2 is going to be able to step up. We're going to bring Juju back to this offense. He's so great and with blocking on the outside. He can be that great slot receiver that you need. But to me, they're still missing that explosiveness where we saw Dallas go, and we can't just have CeeDee Lamb. And not that Dallas is the poster child for great moves in the offseason. They made a poor one with Micah Parsons. But George Pickens is somebody that was unhappy in Pittsburgh, and a lot of teams said, we don't want to deal with that, right? We don't want him coming in and complaining about targets and getting him the ball. But, man, it's hindsight's 20/20, but you go back and the Chiefs made a move like that where they could have someone who's a true number 2 for Rashee Rice. Are we complaining about
Rice is a number 2.
Or Rashee Rice is a number 2, and there's somebody who's a legitimate number 1 who has number 1 status or has put up numbers of a number 1. Maybe we're talking about things differently, but that to me reminds me a little bit of some of those years in Foxborough where Brady would be complaining about, "You didn't give me any help here. I mean, we're just letting guys walk left and right, or we're not signing the right guys." And you don't want that to lead to frustration. I know Patrick Mahomes isn't saying anything like that, but I would love this offseason, whether it leads to the postseason, a Super Bowl appearance, or not making it at all. I would love to see a true focus on getting some running back help, getting him some more talented receivers that you can really make things easier on him, because you owe him that. Let's be honest. You owe him a year where maybe you can take some off his plate, and it's not every single game of just please save us, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I want them to make the playoffs. I want them to win 5 in a row. I want them to win 9 games in a row. That'd be amazing. And win 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. Unbelievable, right? No debating how great the dynasty would be then. And maybe that's part of the lament of this year is that you look around the AFC and go, or even the NFL and go, who's the really good team that you're going, that's an undeniable, awesome team. Last year was like the Eagles were on a roll, and the Lions had all these injuries that maybe they can't overcome. But the Vikings were right there too with Sam Darnold. And then in the AFC, it's the Bills. The Chiefs are frauds, but it's the Bills. The Bills are so good. And this year it's like, it's the Rams, but then the Panthers. It's the Patriots, and it's like, is it? I mean, it might be. It's the Broncos. I mean, is it? Are they a fraudulent 9-2 team? I don't know. It's the Bears. Is it? The Bears? Like, it might be. Somebody's got to win the Super Bowl this year, and I doubt it's going to be the Chiefs, and I have no clue who it's going to be. Like, is it going to be the Patriots? Is it going to be the Rams? Is it going to be the Bears? Is it going to be the Bills finally that break through? Because if it ain't this year for the Bills to break through, then you might just go ahead and move on from a lot of people there in their positions. But that's part of the lament of this year is looking around and you're going, man, this was a real opportunity. But it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It sucks to say it because it's the position they're in now. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they miss the playoffs and get a top 20 draft pick and trade back to get more picks and trade back a little bit more to get more picks to start to restock. Now, that won't happen. If they get a top 20 pick, they'll probably trade up and spend even more picks and things like that. But if you get a stud defensive end that could be a huge difference maker, then hey, then that's what you do, and it goes and can help the team. But they need a reassessment this offseason whether they make the playoffs or not. They need to reassess a lot of things. Personnel, the type of players that they bring in, thinking Shamari Connor is a slot defender. I mean, if I'm Brett Veach, I'm wondering what Spags is doing. Christian Fulton plays the last 2 weeks, and then he's a healthy scratch. Noel Williams plays the most snaps of his career against the Bills, and he's played 7 snaps since. Christian Roland Wallace has been your slot corner. He's missing in the game. And that's a game that Christian Fulton is then inactive and Noel Williams doesn't play. Josh Williams is made active and plays 1 play on defense because you've got Shamari Connor in the slot. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense from that standpoint of you've got Noel Williams, you've got Christian Fulton. Figure out those guys in the slot. Figure out Trent McDuffie in the slot then if you have to. And I get it. He puts him on CeeDee Lamb or George Pickens. That's the best way of going about it. But I would say the best way of going about it is also not including Shamari Connor playing the slot. For the second year in a row, we're seeing that when Christian Roland Wallace is not in there. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. You know, one touchdown can change everything. The crowd, the momentum, the game itself, it never gets old. You feel that same rush with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, where every touchdown can bring you closer to cashing in. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, all the action is in your hands. First touchdowns, anytime touchdowns, live bets, every play, every snap, every game matters. And here's the best part. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Easy to do. Go bet the $5, go and win the bonus bets. When your team hits the end zone, you could hit the payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 810WHB. That's code 810WHB. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, Kansas only. Eligibility and restrictions apply on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
I wrap it up this hour. In the next hour, we will change the subject. We'll talk a little bit about some of the other things going on in the NFL. Also, we'll get into conversation around the NFL with Field Yates coming up at 11:30. weigh in on some college football. The ACC has Duke in the conference championship game. It's the disaster for the ACC. We'll see what happens with that. But Field Yates comes up at 11:30. We'll hear from Andy Reid in his Monday press conference in the noon hour. Mick Schaefer in the 1 o'clock hour. Learn Funniest Best around 1:30 or so. And wrapping up the show after that. We take a timeout. We come back. More Zone next. I will continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Jack Johnson, Michael Darcy heading up until 2 o'clock. Coming up later on this hour, we will hang out with Field Yates from ESPN. He is our NFL insider. 913-912-4810 Texas. I don't think Spags would want any of Denver's defense. They're all mid-sized, fast players versus tall, rangy guys. Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't want those guys. Like Nick Bonitto's a guy that was drafted in 2022 after they took Brian Cook, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of players that I liked that I missed on. So, those things happen. But hey, got that one right, that I would have loved the Chiefs to take Nick Bonitto, but we also talked heading into that 2022 draft when they had all those draft picks that he wasn't going to be a guy the Chiefs would take because he didn't match Spags' style of defensive end. That just wasn't going to be something they were going to do. And they didn't. And they went Brian Cook, and he's been fine. And, he's been better this year than he has been the last couple of years. The injury certainly hurt. And we'll see what they do with Brian Cook, who's a free agent after this year. We'll see the moves that they make. But with the players that they have right now and the position that they're in right now, they need more and more guys on this team to help out overall. And I don't know what moves are going to be made this offseason or what draft picks are going to be made, where you're going to be picking in the draft, because it can't be constantly the feeling of Mahomes has to go and save you, that Mahomes has to do this, has to do that. And if Mahomes isn't perfect, then he's criticized. It's like, well, Mahomes missed that open guy. Yeah, he didn't make a perfect throw. He didn't make a, and I have talked about Mahomes in certain games that he didn't play well. He didn't play well against the Bills. He's had some games where he did not play well. He's had some games where he just missed on a couple of throws. But also, that's sort of the point in when we are focusing on that, because he's carrying the weight of having to do that. Because they don't have a run game that is consistent enough. And they also don't have an offense that will be willing to commit to said run game to be consistent enough. And I hope they go and get a running back that can, take some of the pressure off. And go back to 2018 when you were handing the ball a lot to Kareem Hunt. And I do understand, and why I would agree with some when they were talking about Breece Hall. I wouldn't give up a third rounder for Breece Hall because I think this team needs players. And if they want Breece Hall, they can go and sign him in the offseason. Doesn't help you this year, but is this team Breece Hall away from winning a Super Bowl? Maybe. I mean, honestly, maybe. I think there's a chance that could be the case. If Breece Hall was on the team, do they beat the Broncos? Do they, beat the Dallas Cowboys? Does he take one of those carries that got 4 or 5 yards and a set of downs that they punted and turn that into 12 or 13 or 25? A screen pass that's a 7 or 8 yard gain that's, 25 or 30? Does he do that and change and tilt field position? Certainly he could. But do they win a Super Bowl because of that? And I don't know that they would win a Super Bowl because of a third rounder, but they need more players. They need more draft picks. They need more guys on this team so that you don't waste a year of Patrick Mahomes' prime. And I do find it inexcusable to have a year where Patrick Mahomes is in his prime and you don't make the playoffs. In a year that feels really mediocre in the conference. I mean, really mediocre in the conference. So, yeah, I think there's a looking in the mirror moment. They did it after the Bucs Super Bowl loss. They did it after the Bengals loss in the AFC Championship game and rebuilt their defense after that. And they did it to a degree on the offensive line after the Super Bowl loss to the Eagles. But that was kind of it. They kept the band together. They traded Joe Thuney because they chose Trey Smith over Joe Thuney, which I understand. You're also paying more money. You're getting the fourth rounder and paying more money for Trey Smith. You get Noel Williams with Joe Thuney. And Joe Thuney is doing amazing things in Chicago. And they did right by him by saying, we're going to trade you. Where do you want to go? We got these different spots that you can go to, and send him to a place that now is the number 1 seed in the NFC. Like, there are things that can happen, but I also wouldn't disagree if somebody said it might be time to mortgage 3 years from now to make sure the next 2 years you aren't in this position with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. And it sounds good in theory, Jack, to say, well, yeah, but you don't want to waste the next 3 years for 1 year. I agree. But are you willing to waste 3 years from now for the next 2 years? And you don't have to waste 3 years after that for the next 2. But if you play the game of we will add void years, we will maximize Patrick Mahomes over the next 3 years and do what it takes to win as many Super Bowls as we can or put ourselves in position as many times as we can over the next 3 years. And if that means in 2029 or 2030, we're having to write some checks and take our spoonful of medicine, then we're going to have to do that. But in the meantime, we're not going to have a season where we go, we just weren't good enough in so many different spots that we couldn't overcome it in a mediocre year. And maybe that's where the third rounder for Breece Hall would have been a bigger message of, no, I know we need these things, but we also are not going to waste a year with Patrick Mahomes, and we'll figure out in the offseason how we make moves to make sure that 2026 is the year we can go and win a Super Bowl, and 2027. Sounds good in theory, but it also takes long-term planning, and it takes being aggressive at certain times, and it takes not missing on guys that you've spent in the offseason on, like a cornerback, like a running back, where other running backs are more successful for less money than that. They made a mistake. Soren says you're in the get-it-right business, and I agree that that's ultimately what they are in the get-it-right business. They haven't gotten it right in a number of one-score games this year, and that adds to the frustration. Flip 3 of those, and, we're not talking about this. We're discussing the 1 seed because you got 3 losses.
The risk of Brett Veach sitting on his hands during the trade deadline was that the running back room you thought was going to be just fine didn't end up being fine. That, sitting on your hands and not adding an extra receiver, not adding somebody for the defensive line, that they were not going to perform at the highest level in the back half of the schedule. And there are still 5 games to go. There's a chance that Kareem Hunt or Isaiah Pacheco has a 100-yard game that really sparks you the rest of the way. Or, George Karlaftis and Charles Omenihu and Chris Jones, they just wreak havoc on somebody, probably the Chargers offensive line that has 5 backups out there. But that was what worried me and why I wasn't okay with them not making a move, because this was still another reality. We've made it a theme in the first 2 hours of this show of, right, we're saying, well, this could happen. Right? They could do this. And, yeah, that the Chiefs have been able to do that the last couple of years, but this wasn't the team I feel you could have done that for. This felt like a team they had to get an upgrade. They had to trade a day 2 or a day 3 pick to get a guy that could really boost the defensive line, that could boost the running back room. And the only thing, or the pushback I saw at least, when the Chiefs didn't make a trade was, we'll have faith in Veach, right? He usually gets these things right, and he'll be able to use that day 2 pick for some stud corner or some stud receiver or running back in the 7th round that we're all applauding, a couple years down the road. But the NFL is hard to win each and every year. As easy as the Chiefs have made it seem the last couple of years, it's hard to do it. And I feel for this team, and what's always been in the back of my mind is Travis Kelce for this, because this might be it for Travis Kelce. I would have thought at the trade deadline, this was the year to go. Not that you put all your eggs in the basket just to make Travis Kelce happy, but make it so that he gets one more shot. Get this team in the postseason, leave no doubt, and maybe it doesn't work out, because that's just sports 101. But to not do anything, and then to see this team be, 1-3 since the trade deadline, or maybe 1-2, it's in that ballpark,
no,
of course.
It's 1-2. The Bills game was the Sunday before the trade deadline.
Got it. Okay, so 1-2. and your offense has looked lackluster.
Yeah.
And it took Kareem Hunt, as great as he was in the Colts game, 30 carries to break 100 yards. It's like, would Breece Hall have changed everything? I don't know, and we'll never know that answer unless he plays for the Chiefs again. But for this specific roster, man, it would have been great to see another weapon out there, because how often do we watch this team and go, man, they just need one more guy out there to just change the dynamic a little bit? And how often do we say, man, if they had just one explosive back in the running back room, how easier it would be on Patrick Mahomes to have that game-winning drive again, to put up a game where he's got 35 to 40 points. And it's just been hard for him this year.
And a defensive end that can win on his own.
Absolutely.
And not, talk about Karlaftis has this amazing amount of pressures. Like, Karlaftis keeps getting these pressures, and Karlaftis is pressuring guys. And look at the underlying numbers for George Karlaftis. And that's where, one of the things we brought up and continue to bring up is, the underlying numbers can say this, this, and this, but at some point you use the record, and this team is 6-6, and the underlying numbers can say this is what Jack Caglione's number should be. Like, he is pounding the baseball. He's hitting it 118 miles an hour at the second baseman. Like, he is smoking the ball. Line drive to the right fielder. Like, hey, you're doing what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, you're a hitter. You can only get up there and hit the ball hard. But if it's not falling in, your batting average is still 180. And it's like, well, George Karlaftis, he's getting pressures. It's sort of, you need guys to pressure the quarterback. Right, and that's awesome. And then, at the end of the day, you're looking at 12 games into the season. He's got, 4 sacks this year?
Myles Garrett's had that in one game.
Yeah.
5.
He's got 5. Sorry, way off. Yeah, he's got 5 sacks. Number 2 on the team is Chris Jones with 3. Like, your 2 leading sack guys have 8 combined through 12 games. But he's getting pressures. Start getting sacks. And it's hard to find those guys when you're drafting late in the first round every year. But would a third rounder for Jalen Phillips been the difference? And then you sign him long term. And that's where you spend your offseason and you go, this is a guy that we are going to invest in at the defensive end spot. So now we have our bookend defensive ends with Karlaftis, we paid him, and Jalen Phillips. And now we need to find another defensive tackle. And Omar Norman-Lott returns next year, and he's going to be a second and third round passing situation, pass rusher. And next year we're going to be so much more dynamic on the front for this defense, with Phillips and Karlaftis and Norman-Lott and Chris Jones another year, and then another draft pick, whoever we end up getting. And you look at the Chiefs say to themselves, we have completely revamped this defensive line. But he's in Philly and going to sign a long-term deal. And maybe they go out and have a bigger plan for a defensive end. But they attacked left tackle this offseason. I think they have solved that with Josh Simmons. It's an unfortunate injury. I don't know what took place that kept him away from the team for a month. Seemed like he was back and committed. And then that unfortunate injury happens, and I don't know that we'll see him again this year. I think we'll find out something from Andy Reid, unless he says, I haven't talked to Rick today, which would be odd if he hasn't seen Rick since Thanksgiving, but whatever. But I don't know that we're going to see him anytime soon, and that sucks. But I think they solved the left tackle position, which means you can stop trying to throw resources at it in draft picks, and you can focus elsewhere. I don't know that they've solved the wide receiver position. They've spent a first rounder and a second rounder on the wide receivers on this team right now, and I don't know that they have solved that. Rashee Rice has to take a step up. Xavier Worthy needs to continue to get better and start developing as a player. Because if he's only used in certain ways, then that's what the Chiefs think he is. We can talk about, Jack, well, maybe the Chiefs aren't using him correctly. Well, I don't know. What's McCole Hardman done since he wasn't a Chief? What's he done anywhere besides Kansas City? But what did the Chiefs get out of him? So maybe the Chiefs were finding a way to use him correctly because that's all he could do. And he goes to another team and they go, we don't know how to use this guy because he ain't that good. So we're going to cut him. We're going to waive him. We're going to put him on the practice squad. Okay, we're moving on from him. Oh, look what this guy did in Kansas City. Let's bring him in. How the hell did they get that out of him? Let's move on. Look what this guy did in Kansas City. Let's bring him in. So maybe they were maximizing what McCole Hardman is doing. Maybe they are maximizing what Xavier Worthy is. Well, then you need to figure out why you thought he was more than that, or why he's the player you chose as your receiver, because are you looking more at a specific archetype of receiver, or just simply a guy that is a difference maker out there? Maybe you're not going to get that late first round, But there's a better chance of getting that late first round as a wide receiver difference maker than it is a defensive end difference maker. And they chose Xavier Worthy. Ricky Pearsall may end up being a stud. Ladd McConkey looks like he's a pretty damn good receiver. Leggett has not been great. Keon Coleman has been a healthy scratch a number of times. Like, they've had some issues there. A.D. Mitchell is on his second team and finally had a good game, and people are losing their minds. And this is why the Jets demanded A.D. Mitchell. And they keep showing the same touchdown over and over again where the cornerback fell. He caught a deep touchdown, and the cornerback fell down. He was open, and he was falling while he caught it. Cool. Great. Good for him. But he hasn't been anything special. So maybe they got the best of the bunch there. Maybe Xavier Worthy turns out to be that guy. But you start to wonder, Jack, at what point are they drafting for an archetype of this is a type of player we like rather than, hey, you know what, George Pickens might be a little bit of a head case, but we think he can be a number one. We think he can be an absolute go-to guy. And if we feed him, he won't be a head case. And if he's playing in a system that they don't have an offense, they don't have a quarterback, they run the ball, they use him sparingly, he might be a little bit of a head case. But if we bring him in here and we have Patrick Mahomes with him and Travis Kelce, we're going to get the absolute best out of him, and he's going to be an absolute difference maker on this team, and we're going to take him. But you move on from him. You don't draft that guy. You get Rashee Rice the next year. Maybe because you said, well, we missed on George Pickens because we thought he was a little bit of an issue. Well, then we'll take our chance with Rashee Rice. That might be a little bit of an issue that other teams are not going to draft him because we're not going to do it again, and we'll take Rashee Rice. Cost you games in this year. Could have won a game or two if Rashee Rice was there. He made a dumb decision. Could have won a game or two if Xavier Worthy wasn't hurt. That sucks. But it's also the risk when all you do against man-to-man is run mesh routes. So that's there. Like, there are some issues there. And what's crazy about this whole thing, Jack, is while there are issues, we look back and go, well, if this, if that, they could be in a different position. And they're still not eliminated from the playoffs. They've got 5 games to go. And it can start Sunday night if they win that game to turn things around and to be in a position because they've proven it before. This team hasn't, but this franchise and this group of players have proven it time and time again that they are able to do that. We just haven't seen it from this team, and they're 1-3 in their last 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, you could say for the most part of our conversation, it's been, very negative because this team is 6-6. But how many teams would kill to be 6-6 and still have a chance in their final 5 games to make a run? And we've seen this team do it before. They have a lot of those same players that have found a way to turn it on. And honestly, I mean, they have 2 road games left. We've seen them struggle a little bit on the road, especially in their last 3. They're 0-3 against good football teams. Their last 2 road games are against the Raiders and the Titans. Everything else is at home. So there could be a world in which we speak 4 to 5 weeks from now, and it's a totally different narrative how we're discussing this football team. But we also can acknowledge that the goal here in Kansas City is not, man, we feel proud about making the postseason. Your goal is to get back to the Super Bowl. And as hard as that is, they've made it look really easy. So that's why I never harp on anybody that's frustrated, that's mad right now, because you shouldn't view this team in the lens of, come on now, they are 6-6. It could be worse, right? No, the minute you start doing that is then when you're complacent. It's like, well, they have had 3 Super Bowls. I'm fine if they 100%. Miss the postseason a couple of years. No, you can view them in the way of having a lot of optimism for them. You can put a very high bar for them because that's what they've set. They have set a very high bar for this franchise, and when they don't live up to it, they know there's going to be criticism. And if they miss the postseason this year, which I feel the odds right now are like, honestly, 50-50.
It feels like it's 50-50, yes. Yeah. Depending on
we'll know on Sunday.
Depending on whatever model you look at, it's like 52%, 48%, whatever.
No, it's very close, and we know that these next 2 games are very much playoff games for this football team. And there is a reality in which, you can treat those as playoff games, and they're not good enough to win those games. And then the offseason, you have to overhaul a couple of spots. And it can be seen in a good way that it finally woke you up and you needed to make some plays on a wide receiver, a defensive end, multiple guys in the secondary, another linebacker to add to that group, because they've just had the luxury of sitting back in a cushy chair and saying, you can trust us because we almost always get it right with these draft picks and these free agent signings. This is the first one in the Patrick Mahomes era. You can point to not one, but multiple and say, that was not a good move, at least through 12 games, which is the sample size we have. It was not a good move, and I'm sure the front office is always trying to find ways to counteract it. If this guy struggles, this guy needs to step up. And unfortunately for this 6-6 football team, nobody's looked at an underachieving player and said, well, I'm going to be the guy to step up in their place. Nobody's done it, and that's why they're sitting on their ass right now at 6-6, gearing up for a red-hot Texans team that is looking to put the dagger in the Chiefs. The Colts had the opportunity. The Cowboys kind of did, but they're an NFC team. The Texans have the knife in their hand going into Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday night. They can effectively end their season. I want to see what this team has. I mean, this is now back against the wall the rest of the way. There is no more loss you really can endure unless, as you said, it's the Broncos, because you don't need the tiebreaker, because it's not going to matter with the tiebreaker. It'll come the end of December here. I'm fascinated to know what this team has for us and what type of intensity there will be, because even though they're favored, this is a bad matchup on paper, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a Texans team that is 5-1 in their last 6 games. That one loss was against the Denver Broncos in the fourth quarter when C.J. Stroud was knocked unconscious and Davis Mills had to come in and finish the game, and they had the lead in that game, and the Broncos came back and won. They beat the Jags. They beat the Titans. They beat the Bills. They went to the Colts and won. They beat the 49ers the week before that loss to the Denver Broncos. They were sitting 2-4, and they're now 7-5. They are red hot. The Chiefs are not. Coming into this season, or this weekend on Sunday night. And I'll say this as we go to break, and I want to talk a little bit about this with Field Yates. So just to preview what I want to talk about with Field Yates. I don't think it's spoiled, or maybe it's spoiled, I don't know. I don't think it is make fun of worthy, which we see on Twitter, when Chiefs fans offer frustrations for what's going on with this season. But you see it from other fan bases in the national media of, Chiefs fans are really complaining about this, and this after going to 3 straight Super Bowls? Yeah, there's a demand and an expectation of this. And there's a knowing that the years and years and decades that people have watched this football team and this franchise without Patrick Mahomes, knowing that there will be a day again without Patrick Mahomes. So what you do with him while he is in his prime, and if you miss the postseason because you didn't do enough here or there, or you were too stubborn or too set in your ways, or unwilling to adjust, then yeah, you have every right to complain and bitch about that, because there is a finite opportunity right now for you to maximize, and they've got 3 of them, and that has been amazing. It's 2 more than I would have settled for, quite frankly. When they drafted Mahomes, and I said, if you guarantee me 1 Super Bowl, it's Aaron Rodgers, bleep it, give me a Super Bowl. I'll take it. They've got 3, and 5 of 6 that they've gone to Super Bowls. They're 3-2 in Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes. It is amazing. But it doesn't make them free of criticism moving forward when there are obvious mistakes, which you say, if you continue making those mistakes, this will be the same pattern you see moving forward. That's the issue. Doesn't mean you're spoiled and you don't appreciate what's happened, or you haven't enjoyed it. Just enjoy the dynasty. Who cares? It means that you don't want this season to be the next 3 seasons. What did they do? What are you seeing? What's your assessment? And how can they make a difference? We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone next. Hey, man, if you're out there and you are suffering from erectile dysfunction, there is no need to wait around. You know, it is the holiday season, and it's already going to be stressful as it is. And now, if you're dealing with that, there's extra added stress that goes along with that. I mean, it's a time for being around family, being around significant other, and things like that. And you don't want to have to worry about when the mood may hit and you don't really feel the way that you did, or confident in what could happen. ED, it can cause major relationship issues. In fact, men can find it, causing depression, arguments, breakups, contributing to divorce, a lot of things that can come from erectile dysfunction. Heartland Men's Health treatments work when pills or the herbals fail. In fact, they have treatments with success rates well over 90%. Again, maybe you've tried the pills or the herbals. That's what you go to Heartland Men's Health for, is those treatments if that happens. They have been successfully treating men in the Kansas City area. They are on the cutting edge with the peptides and all the new ways they continue to try to find advancements in men's health. Schedule a consult with Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit is only $99, and that includes a medical consult with a licensed medical provider, a T and PSA test, and have medically advised a test dose. And if the test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. If it does, there you go. An expert staff with 3 locations to serve you is what Heartland Men's Health offers. Overland Park, Independence, between Blue Springs and Lee Summit, and North Kansas City. Call them today, 844-447-6600. Tell them you heard about it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, 844-447-6600, or visit heartlandmenshealth.com.
He'll help you fantasy focus while he scoops the news. He's on TV more often than he's in bed. He'll break down the NFL without a single hair ever out of place. It's Field Yates of ESPN. Now in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll hear from Andy Reid an hour from now. We talk right now with our NFL insider, Field Yates from ESPN, joining us here in the zone on this Monday edition. Field, welcome in. How are you, sir?
Jason, I am doing well. Hope you had a good holiday weekend, understanding that Thursday was perhaps a touch tainted by the game itself, but always a good day for family and friends alike.
Absolutely. How was your Thanksgiving, bud?
It was good. Still feeling the after effects of that, but in a good way. It was no regrets, right? You can never have too many regrets when you've had too much stuffing and pie.
100%. Andy Reid said that they just need to clean some things up, and I told my wife on Friday, look, I just need to clean some things up. I'll get to it. And then Saturday I woke up and I said, look, honey, I know I got to watch the film. I just need to clean some things up. I understand. You
got to do it.
You guys killed it. You killed it on Thursday, and I just need to clean some things up. Then I woke up Sunday, Field, and I said, you know what, honey, I'm going to continue to assess, go to work, and I just got to clean some things up. And I woke up Monday and it didn't matter anymore because she had cleaned some things up and I was out of the playoffs. Field, what did you see in Dallas? Is this just the same old, the conversation we've been having that for whatever reason this year in 2025, whether it be the football gods or, one thing or another, that these games that are coming down to the last couple of possessions, the Chiefs are not finding ways to win outside of last Sunday, but that seems to be the anomaly over the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, it sure does. I was reading Bill Barnwell, my colleague at ESPN, and he was talking about how he thought that this Chiefs team was perhaps very close to last season's team, except for last season's team, everything that could go right did go right during the regular season, and the inverse is true this year. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong this year. Fellow colleague of mine, Joe Fortenbaugh, has been on this, Joe, one of our betting experts, and of course, bettors are very much keeping an eye on one-score game results, as history has told us that one-score games are generally coin flips. As we know, famously, the Chiefs last year swept one-score games during the regular season, and of course, this year it has been close to the opposite. They have been unable to grind out basically every close game that they have been in this year. I've thought about since Thursday, what is it about the Chiefs that has left them in this hole they find themselves in right now at 6-6? It's not like I think this team is dramatically worse than the teams that they have lost to recently. If they play the Cowboys in a 7-game series, it might go to 7 games. And I'm not sure who wins or loses that 7-game series. It might be as simple as who has home field advantage in that final game. But I thought about some of the issues. I would say, and this is perhaps simplifying things too much because there's responsibility all the way around. But the lack of game-changing plays on defense has started to stick out to me of late. Dak Prescott felt very comfortable. I mean, the receivers did whatever they wanted. George Pickens got the better of Trent McDuffie during their individual matchups. CeeDee Lamb had a monster day. So on a day in which Patrick Mahomes throws for 4 touchdowns and Rashee Rice looked every bit the part of a top 10 receiver in the NFL, the Chiefs defense couldn't find a way to make Dak Prescott uncomfortable, and that to me felt like at least part of the difference between winning and losing last Thursday.
We saw, I went into this game and I said that of all the receivers the Chiefs have faced this year, the way they're playing right now, I think George Pickens is the best receiver they have faced all year. And of all the receivers they've faced all year, I think CeeDee Lamb is the second best receiver that they have faced. This was going into the game, and then we see what happened. I mean, do we take something away from that? Like, Trent McDuffie is a really good player, and he's an all-pro, and he's going to get a huge contract. And, I've given my thoughts to the listeners on this, that I don't think you can pay everybody. And I think if you got an opportunity to maybe get a first rounder or more, depending on, what we saw from that Sauce Gardner deal for Trent McDuffie, then I would make that move. But did we see something on Thursday of a high-level cornerback versus a high-level wide receiver and what one of them can do to the other in, let's just say, today's NFL or an offensive game, that if you're paying that level, is it beneficial to pay the high-level cornerback or the high-level receiver?
Yeah, well, today's NFL is skewed towards paying the high-level receivers because of the fact that the rules in place, right?
Yeah.
Defensive backs breathe on a wideout and it's a penalty, and then the inverse takes place and it's no big deal, right? I feel like there are far more egregious defensive pass interference calls than offensive pass interference calls. Ravens fans might feel differently after the Zay Flowers touchdown was wiped out on Thursday night, but it's a different story for a different conversation. You know, Trent's a really interesting number one corner, an all-pro corner, in the sense that while he has been incredible throughout his career, he's a size mismatch of the highest order against George Pickens. Pickens, one of the jumbo-sized receivers that we have in the NFL, and McDuffie on the smaller side, forward corner. That was the reason why he went a little bit lower in the first round than some expected when he came out of Washington a handful of years ago. So I haven't put as much thought into who needs to be the disposable piece on this Chiefs roster that is, of course, already very expensive and has a couple of players that are due to be paid at some point in either this upcoming offseason or perhaps the offseason following that. So I can't say that, hey, McDuffie is the most natural trade target to put onto the block and see what you can get for him. But Thursday felt like two guys with all-pro talent, one guy playing with an all-pro mindset that is nobody in the world can cover me right now, that being George Pickens, a player who feels completely reinvigorated by playing in Dallas and not Pittsburgh, and that probably feels even more the case after what we watched yesterday in that Pittsburgh-Buffalo game.
Visiting with Field Yates from ESPN, our NFL insider. I saw this a little bit, and I talked about this before in the previous segment and said, you know, I do want to bring this up with Field Yates because, you know, it's happening right now in Kansas City, and I see some of the reaction outside of the city, that there are some frustrations and some complaints about what we're seeing, and whether it be play call or it be personnel or usage of personnel, draft picks, things like that, that there is a frustration of, okay, you did this, you did that, this is what's going on, and this is, you know, unacceptable, or fans complaining. And the reaction I see, which I get from outside the area, is, wow, you're really complaining about this team, and you went to 3 Super Bowls, 5 out of 6. My point being, Field, I don't think there's any less appreciation for what has happened. What I think is happening right now, Field, is the frustrations coming through and the complaints of, don't let this season be the next 2 or 3 with Patrick Mahomes. So what's happening this year and what needs to change so that next year we're not talking about winning 5 straight just to make the tournament?
I mean, Jason, not only that, but this is fandom. Like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, whatever it is, that this Chiefs era that we are currently in is a thing of the past. No one is going to look back upon one season and say, you know, 5 out of 6 appearances in the Super Bowl, at least 3 championships won. But that 2025 season really, like, puts a stain on the entirety of the run. But when you're in the midst of it, then it does feel really painful because you have an expectation for what this team will be. And, you know, I keep feeling to myself from, 1,500 miles away, like, no, it's fine. Like, the Chiefs lost the game, but they're going to figure it out because eventually that's what happens when you're the Chiefs. And now we've gotten to a point where, Sunday night, again, by definition, not a must-win game. But I tell you, it feels like, as close to a must-win game as you could possibly imagine, right? I mean, but given the fact that if they lose, that would mean that 4 teams that are in the AFC playoff picture, the Chargers, Jaguars, Broncos, and Texans, would have a win head-to-head against Kansas City. I guess Buffalo will make it 5. So it feels like Sunday is, in some ways, the season, which is not something that the Chiefs fan was thinking coming into this year. By week 14, they're thinking, like, is there a chance to, like, hey, we've got a 2-game division lead and we can wonder whether we're going to rest our starters in week 18. Instead, they are in the middle of a serious battle just to get into the postseason.
I think if they win out, they're in. But that's but that's also like they're 1-3 in their last 4 games when it's like this is a crucial game. This is a crucial game, and now they've got 5 of them in a row. 2 of them they should take care of at Tennessee and at Vegas. So in theory, they've got 8 wins. I think there is an outside chance 10 wins get you in because I really worry about what Indianapolis is going to look like down the stretch. Heading to Jacksonville, heading to Seattle. They play Jacksonville again. They head to Houston at the end of the season. I mean, they may not make it to 10 wins. And if they do, the Chiefs would have the tiebreaker over them. But then you got to worry about the Chargers and the Texans and things like that. Who do you trust in the AFC? Because I think that's also a lament around here, Field, is as wide open as this is. If you had a season where you just could put it together defensively, offensively, and looked like maybe a couple of years ago Chiefs or 3 years ago Chiefs, that it would feel like it's kind of a a coast to a degree to get to San Francisco.
Yeah, fourth quarter of Indianapolis, Kansas City might work too, right?
Right, yes.
I was sitting there watching the game last night, and the Broncos find a way to win, 27-26 in overtime. Their 9th straight win. They're now 10-2. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, this Broncos team feels really flawed for a 10-2 team. And yet, I don't know, who is definitely better than them in the AFC? Yeah, I don't know that anybody, either by record or by current play, has taken the mantle of being the best team in the AFC. I kind of thought all season the Patriots' run was this team is remarkably improved. They're taking advantage of a very soft schedule, but I don't know if they're like one of the true heavyweights of the AFC. Like, I don't know how you can discount them now as well. Like, they played tonight, and we'll see how they do against the Giants, but it's like, even if those are the two preeminent teams in the AFC, and there's obviously an argument for and against that, it doesn't feel like the top of the class is as strong as it has been in prior years. Like, in the past few years, of course, we've had not just Kansas City at the top, but also Buffalo and Baltimore lurking, and it feels like we're getting a slightly watered-down, maybe a more than slightly watered-down version of Buffalo, and then a very watered-down version of Baltimore. So some of these new faces on the block should probably get the nod as the most complete or most dangerous team, but there is an element of showing us that you can do it on the biggest stage before we can fully buy into a team.
I wanted to ask you one more about Thursday, but from the other side. The Dallas Cowboys, what they've done the last couple of weeks, coming back against Philly and then beating the Chiefs. If they head to Detroit and win on Thursday, I mean, are they a team that's going to end up like 11-5-1? And maybe win that division in the NFC East, because Minnesota at home, Chargers at home, Commanders and Giants to end the season. But that trip on Thursday to Detroit, I mean, the way they're playing right now, we thought the Rams were the best team in the NFC. I don't know. Maybe it's the Cowboys if we look back in a month and a half from now. I'm
giving the Cowboys 10 wins minimum. 9 wins minimum the rest of this season, because I think they take care of business at home against the Vikings, and they beat the Commanders, and they beat the Giants. I believe they win all three of those games. It comes down to two pivotal ones and games that you might call a coin flip. The Lions, that game is in Detroit this upcoming Thursday, and then the Chargers, they play later on this season. And if you look at the Philadelphia schedule, the Eagles obviously are a game up in the loss column and 2 up in the win column here. But if the Cowboys go to Detroit and win on Thursday night, the pressure the Eagles will face as they go to Los Angeles on Monday night is, to me, unavoidable. Like, it is going to be a massive talking point going into that game, because Philadelphia has certainly grinded out a lot of quality wins, right? I mean, not just the Chiefs. They beat the Cowboys early in the season. They took care of business again. Well, they beat the Rams. They beat the Buccaneers. Like, they've won a lot of games against teams that we believe are legit. The Packers, the Lions, and defensive struggles. That being said, they just haven't earned full trust, even as the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, because of the fact that the offense is seemingly so broken.
Yeah. Field Yates is our guest. Last one for you. Do you have an early feel next Sunday night for Chiefs and Texans? I worry about what the Chiefs' offensive line will look like. Josh Simmons ain't going to play. Hopefully Juwan Taylor and Trey Smith are back, and it's just Jalen Moore. But Chiefs' backs are against the wall. They win at home. They don't win on the road. Is that the difference on Sunday night?
I tell you what, if they have Juwan Taylor and Trey Smith, I feel a whole lot better about that one. But I am nervous about this one for Kansas City. It's kind of the perfect storm matchup, right? The Texans' strengths are obviously rushing the passer and just a good defense in general, very good defense in general. This feels like a team coming in with a lot of confidence versus a team that's, I don't think the Chiefs lack confidence, but it's understood if this team is feeling a bit shakier as compared to normal. I lean towards the Chiefs because they're playing at home. As you mentioned, they've been so good there this season. But to bring it back to the original point, the most important point, if ever such a thing as a Week 14 season-defining game takes place, this is the one on Sunday night at Arrowhead Stadium.
Yep, we'll see if that happens. Field Yates from ESPN, NFL Insider. Field, you're the man. Very much appreciate the time, sir. We will talk next Monday.
Sounds good, Jason. Talk to you then, my friend.
Absolutely. There's Field Yates. Great stuff from him. Look, I think it's so fascinating when we talk about this Chiefs team. And we look at it and we lament the fact that they're 6-6 right now. And, we got a text earlier that said, they have an interception in the end zone against the Eagles, and they lose that game. And they've got the pick six against the Jags, and they lose that game. The Denver Broncos, the mistakes that were there, you lose that game. Dallas Cowboys, opportunities in that, you lose that game. And those are all playoff teams. And they were right there in a number of them. Baltimore's a playoff team. They're leading the division right now, and you destroyed them. Detroit's a playoff team. You destroyed them. Colts, potentially a playoff team. You took care of business there. They have been good at home, with the one loss being the Eagles. And now you've got 3 of the next 4 at home, and then at Tennessee and at Raiders. For a first-place schedule and those teams that are on your schedule, those home teams, it does break in that way that you get them at home. Maybe it would have been better if coming off the bye, Denver was at home. Because if you won that game, you're talking about a 7-5 record right now with the next couple of weeks and going, if you take care of business, and then that Tennessee game, maybe that Broncos game is for the division, and we'll see what happens. But it'd be a different conversation right now because that Broncos game on December 25th on Christmas may not have the same implications that it could have had if you took care of the Broncos in Week 11. But you didn't, and now here you are, going up against one of the hottest teams in the AFC and the Texans with the best defense in the NFL against potentially a really banged-up offensive line and an offense that has had its struggles against good defenses this year that will man you up and say, come get us, and we're going to pin our ears back and go right after you. It's a scary proposition for the Chiefs on Sunday night, and a Texans team that feels like they should have won last year in the divisional round in Kansas City. And they buy into Troy Aikman's narrative that he wrote with his commentary in that divisional playoff game against the Texans last year. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling more zone next. All right, thank you to Field Yates, wrapping up this hour. We will hear from Andy Reid coming up in the noon hour. His Monday press conference, they look forward to the challenge of facing the Houston Texans. Clean some things up. We'll see what happens in that game. Must-win game, back against the wall, sense of urgency, playoff time. They could make the playoffs if they win 4 of 5. I believe they absolutely will make the playoffs if they win 5 in a row. It will behoove them to start on Sunday night to win that game. Then it gives you the same record as the Texans and a tiebreaker. Texans have an easier schedule the rest of the way than the Chiefs do. You ain't catching up if you lose this game. We'll talk about Lane Kiffin next. I will continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, 913-912-4810. An hour from now, we will hear from Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Coming up later on this hour, we will hear from Andy Reid as he will have his Monday press conference getting ready for the Houston Texans coming up on Sunday night. While we get ready for that, I did want to talk about what has been the major storyline over the weekend in college football. It's been much discussed and debated and talked about, and people have passionately given their opinions on this whole thing. And I find the whole thing incredibly amusing, quite frankly, about it, because like we've got $12 million jobs, people going to airports to boo, these grand statements about morals and who people are and unscrupulous actors. We've got somebody being called a hoe. Like this thing has freaking everything, this drama in college football. It is the soap opera of our lives. It's the days of our lives. Like that's what it is, sand through the hourglass. Like sports are the soap opera for men and women that aren't just watching, the soap operas. It's the real life reality TV show. It's the actual reality TV show. No matter how dumb people are and say some things are scripted, they aren't. We don't know what's going to happen over these next 5 weeks for the Chiefs. They might go 5-0. They might go 2-3. They might win 9 games in a row. They might go 1-4. And if they're going to not make the playoffs, they might as well go 1-4, get a better draft pick. But we don't know what's going to happen here. But the whole thing is the drama and the soap opera, and that's what I find so amusing is all of it surrounding Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and LSU and the fans and the media member. Lane Kiffin daring him to call him a hoe in the press conference. Like the whole thing is just fascinating. And there have been plenty. If you want to read about how terrible of a person Lane Kiffin is, you can throw a pebble out your window and find a column about that right now. You want to read about Lane Kiffin being a snake in the grass or whatever? You want to hear about it? Just turn on any show right now, essentially. TV, radio, you're going to be able to hear that. I want to focus on something else. And talk a little bit about what I feel like might be the forest for the trees that's being missed. Look, as far as Lane Kiffin is concerned, not being allowed to coach in the playoffs, I mean, you got to expect that to be the case. I mean, you had to know that the Ole Miss AD and the athletic department was going to be pissed off that you left, and there were going to be hurt feelings, and they weren't going to go, okay, cool, you're going to LSU, we'll let you continue to coach here. Also, you're getting $12 million a year to heal those wounds, to be upset that you aren't going to coach in the playoffs. And I do agree with some of the points that are like, well, if you wanted to coach in the playoffs that bad, you could have stayed and coached there. You didn't have to take the LSU job. And I've seen some people say, well, Lane Kiffin wants to make himself the victim. I don't know that there are victims here. Like, are there victims in this whole thing? We're talking about college athletics. But what I want to focus on is the Ole Miss part of this. Because there seems to be a real consensus of, well, what's Ole Miss to do? Of course they're making the right decision. You can't let that guy anywhere near your program if he's taking the LSU job. But here's what I find to be sort of hypocritical about this whole thing, is that, we hear he's a snake. It's a hoe. He never cared. He only cares about himself. He's in it for number one, and that's Lane Kiffin. Decisions that he makes are not for the greater good. It's for the greater Kiffin. And I mean, I hear that, right? But you cared about him when he was your coach. You didn't care about that part of it when he was your coach. As long as he was your coach, it was all good. He can be a guy that you now say only cared about himself. He can be a guy that you now say is selfish and only cares about him, doesn't care about other people, doesn't care about the people that are there, doesn't care about the kids, doesn't care about developing the kids. You can't have that guy around your program. But that didn't bother you when he was your coach. And the university saying, we can't have him coach in the playoffs because there's no way you could allow that coach over the next month or something to be around the players at Ole Miss to get them to go to LSU, to be there, and the whole time all he's doing is recruiting those players for LSU. There's no way you can allow him to do that. Because you find him to be of such low character. You find him to be of such lacking any morals or any commitment or loyalty that he would be coaching for a national championship with those players, but you think he's that low of a dude that he's going to be there and recruit those players to go to LSU. This is what you thought about him. Yet you spent the last month and a half doing everything you could to keep him. So you don't really care that that's who he is. You were okay with him being that as long as he was that for you. So you're not pissed off about who Lane Kiffin is. You're pissed off because Lane Kiffin said no thank you to you. Your feelings are hurt. And so you're going to take it out on an easy target. I am not defending Lane Kiffin. The guy's getting $12 million a year. He can defend himself. He's the one that made the decision to go to LSU and should have known that he was not going to coach in the playoffs. Now, I find it fascinating that LSU was going to allow him to coach in the playoffs. I do think that's an interesting part of it that's not being talked about at all, is that LSU, because Lane Kiffin ain't going to take the LSU job and fight Keith Carter, figuratively, the AD at Ole Miss, to coach in the playoffs if LSU was already telling him, you can't coach in the playoffs and take this job. LSU has clearly told him, here's $12 million a year, and you can coach in the playoffs for Ole Miss. We'll come see you when it's over. Yeah, it'd be nice with this recruiting cycle. It'd be nice with this transfer portal window being open. But we're looking long term, and we're willing to take you as the coach and give up this December transfer portal window if it means that we get to keep you, that we get you as our head coach, that everybody else wants, that we want, you're the main guy we want, we're willing to give up that month. What Kansas, by the way, wasn't willing to do with Jim Harbaugh. They were hiring Jim Harbaugh, but he wanted to coach the bowl game at Stanford. And they told him, no, if you're our coach right now. And he said, thanks but no thanks, I'm coaching the bowl game at Stanford. LSU was saying to Lane Kiffin, sure, you want to coach the playoffs? Go coach the playoffs. Because also, you go and win a national championship. It is also promotion for us, that this is the guy coming to our school. So you want to play and win a national championship? You come to LSU because Lane Kiffin's there. So I understand it from LSU's standpoint. But I find it interesting, the attacks on Lane Kiffin, while spending the last 8 weeks, 10 weeks, well, since Brian Kelly was fired, doing everything you can to court him, to keep him, and to tell him how amazing he is, that he needs to stay at Ole Miss because you love him that much. And now he leaves, and you're willing to tell him everything that you think of him and how terrible he is. I also think what's being missed, too, is the forest for the trees on this whole thing is I understand the easy route of saying you can't let Lane Kiffin coach your team to the playoffs to win a national championship because either you're in or you're out. You're either with us or you're against us. And if you're not with us, if you're the LSU head coach, you can't be in here and coach our players, even though the players have said, we want Lane Kiffin to stay and coach. We are good with trying to win a national championship with Lane Kiffin. You want to win a national title. But what you're saying is we're okay knowing we have a much less chance of winning a national title without this guy. And we've said that with our money because we don't want him to leave. We're willing to give him whatever he wants, monetarily, support, boosters, alumni, fan base, to keep him. Why do you want to keep him? Because he's that valuable to the program and he's that valuable to that team that year. And if you believe that, then you are essentially saying you are cutting off your knees, you're cutting off your legs at the knee before the playoff because you're pissed off that he's going to LSU. And I just wonder who Ole Miss thinks they are. Like, Ole Miss looks in the mirror and sees Alabama. Ole Miss is great value Tennessee. Ole Miss's program has done nothing for decades. They had 3 double-digit win seasons in 35 years. Barely showing up in the polls every once in a while. Here's a ranking in the poll. Lane Kiffin got there, and he's 55-19. 4 or 5 years, they have been double-digit wins. They're going to the playoff this year because of Lane Kiffin. You think you're going to be in this position again anytime soon? Maybe you will with Pete Golding, or whatever his first name is. I'm not sure. Mr. Golding, Coach Golding. Maybe you'll be there. But it's funny to hear after the fact, after he has taken the LSU job, for you to say, no, we have a higher standard here at Ole Miss. You can't be out there and take the Ole Miss job and still coach here. You can't be that person. We don't trust you around our kids to be here, to not do that. But we wanted you. We've been willing to do anything for you. We've been meeting with you. We've been offering you all these things. We want you to stay so badly. Please don't leave us. Please. And then he leaves, and it's like, well, good riddance, get out of here. We don't need you anyway. Also, the whole you're in or you're out thing. You've never had an assistant coach that's going to be the head coach somewhere else that coaches and is a coordinator?
Or players that know they're transferring right now?
But, like, you know, coordinators in college teams can take other jobs while they're coordinating those particular teams and then recruiting on the side. We've seen that before. And I saw, like, you know, some people taking shots, or some of those in the NFL taking shots at college football. And, you know, I can't believe this coach would do this coach would do that. There is a way of going about it the right way. All right? And in the NFL, we've got rules. There's no tampering. There's a time and a place for you to do those things. Right. Okay. So you're talking head coach to head coach. And that's what this is. So maybe it's not apples to apples. But Lane Kiffin is getting a promotion. Make no mistake about it. He is getting a promotion from Ole Miss to LSU. Any coach at Ole Miss that's offered $12 million to go to LSU goes to LSU. I talked about it with, Eli Drinkwitz. That, would he take the Florida job? I don't know. Would he take the Penn State job? I don't know. What if the LSU job is offered? Then you're a fool not to go there. But the whole you're in and you're out thing bothers me from this perspective, especially from the NFL. Because last year, we watched Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions against the Commanders on January 18th. You know when he was introduced as the Bears head coach? January 21st. You think the game was over and he contacted the Bears for the first time? You think he interviewed you think the Bears waited that long to interview Ben Johnson for the first time? Oh, but no, that's a coordinator to a head coach. That makes sense. Okay, so what you're saying is the Bears think so much of Ben Johnson, think he is so valuable to the Lions, they are going to make him their head coach. But then you're saying, yeah, but he's just a coordinator. He's not that important to the Lions. It's okay for the coordinator of the Lions to not be in, but to be out, but to still be allowed to be in. That's okay. That's different. He's a coordinator. But he's a coordinator that the Bears say he is our next head coach. That's how good that coordinator is. That's how much he means to the Lions. The Chiefs played the Eagles in the Super Bowl a number of years ago. On February 12th and on February 14th, the same day, Jonathan Gannon was introduced as the Cards head coach, and Shane Steichen was introduced as the Colts head coach on February 14th. 2 days. They lost on a Sunday. They were introduced on a Tuesday. Those guys knew who they were coaching. And we all knew it while it was going on. Gannon might as well stay here in Arizona, right? Wasn't that the joke? Gannon is coaching in Arizona in the Super Bowl. He might as well stay because he's the Cardinals' next head coach. What, you think they contacted for the first time? Like, he wasn't interviewing? He wasn't thinking about what he's going to do as the Cardinals' head coach? Well, he doesn't have to recruit. Okay. Point being, LSU is saying he doesn't have to coach right here. He can coach in the playoffs. And if he coaches in the playoffs, that should be an acknowledgement that he's not going to be out recruiting in the transfer portal. And that should be an acknowledgement from Lane Kiffin, the same thing. But you can't offer me that the NFL is sitting here going, well, we would never do that, when you do it all the time. And Bill Cowher on CBS yesterday, I like Bill Cowher. But Bill Cowher spent, 5 minutes railing on what is right and the moralities of this coach and that coach in college football. Bill Cowher went from defensive coordinator of the Chiefs to the Steelers head coach. I don't know anything about Bill Cowher's life or what was happening behind the scenes, but I know this. Right before taking the Steelers head coaching job, the Chiefs defense gave up 37 to the Bills in the divisional round, the most points they gave up all year. He was the D coordinator. It's a damn fine defense. Was he fully focused on that defense, or was he already thinking about the Steelers job? Was he fully committed to the Chiefs in that divisional round when they gave up 40 points to the Bills with that defense? And Bill Cowher so good as a defensive coordinator to get the Steelers head coaching job right after the season, but he was fully in? You can't be thinking of other things while you're coaching, is what Bill Cowher said yesterday. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just random that your defense got ran through. Your defense got torched. The worst defensive performance all year long happened right before you took the Steelers job. So it happens all the time in the NFL. So stop acting like this is some college thing and the NFL would never do that. They do it all the time. Coaches coach while also getting ready to take another job. It happens. And Ole Miss, looking in the mirror and thinking they're Alabama, as if they will ever be in this position again. See, here's the thing. Ole Miss doesn't think they'll be in the position again. That's why they fought to keep Lane Kiffin so hard. Because they knew before Lane Kiffin, they were an also-ran so often. Minimal 10-win seasons in their career, in their history of their program. We've got 6 conference championships ever. The only reason Ole Miss is in the SEC is because they were there when the party started. And then they look down their nose at other teams in the SEC. Quite frankly, they look down their nose at Missouri in the SEC that had to earn their way into the SEC. They had to earn their way into the party while Ole Miss was just there because they had dip. They brought the ice. They brought the hottie toddy. That's what they brought. They brought the party. They brought the Grove. So it's all good. We're here. We've earned it. You've done nothing. You've never played for an SEC championship. Not playing for an SEC championship this year. Best year Ole Miss has had in how long? Still not playing for an SEC championship. But you're in the playoffs, and you're looking at it and going, we don't need Lane Kiffin. I think they're missing the forest for the trees. And I get it, everybody going, there's no way you can allow Lane Kiffin to coach your team in the playoffs. Then I can't let Jonathan Gannon coach my defense in the Super Bowl. And I can't let Shane Steichen coach my offense in the Super Bowl. And I can't let Ben Johnson coach my offense in the divisional round against the Commanders for the Lions. And I can't let Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel coach in the Super Bowl when they were already the head coach of Notre Dame in Cleveland. Charlie Weiss was already the head coach at Notre Dame at the Super Bowl. Crennel was already the head coach of the Browns at the Super Bowl. I can't let them do that. We can't have that fun picture of those guys hugging there on the field after the Super Bowl win, winning 3 of 4. We can't have that. No, you can't coach that while having another job. But again, I hear but what about recruiting? They didn't have to recruit. I agree. But LSU is clearly saying, we are good with giving up this recruiting cycle to get Lane Kiffin long term. So Lane Kiffin is going to be the Ole Miss head coach during the playoffs, and when it's over, he will be the LSU head coach. Lane Kiffin trying to be the Ole Miss head coach during the playoffs. And again, I don't think he should have taken the LSU job and then expected to be the Ole Miss head coach of the playoffs. I think this is something he should have expected. My point is, Ole Miss is so hurt by Lane Kiffin leaving, they're not looking and realizing this is the last time you may ever have this opportunity again. And you're so pissed off at Lane Kiffin that you're taking away any chance you have of actually winning a national title. Oh, the players are good enough. We believe in everybody in this room. We're good enough to do it. If you're good enough to do it, you would have let Lane Kiffin walk. You wouldn't be pissed about it. You wouldn't be mad about it. If the players in the room and everything surrounding Ole Miss and the program overall is why they're in this position, you wouldn't have spent that long trying to keep Lane Kiffin. Instead, you did. He's gone. You're pissed, and now you're saying, it's okay. We can win it without him. No, you can't. And you stand in there in front of the players and you tell them we can win without him. But you've already told us what you really think of him. You want him. You can call him a hoe now, but you spent a month lifting your skirt for Lane. All right, you kept showing more and more leg to keep him. Then he leaves, and you talk about what kind of person he is. You were willing to put those morals on hold while he was your head coach, right? Right? You've got the morals. You're not going to put up with that. This guy is who he's always been, and we won't put up with it. Unless he's our coach, then we'll put those morals aside, and he can go and win a lot of games, and we can go win a national championship. But by God, if he goes somewhere else, that is a terrible person.
And we'll give him a raise.
Yes, that's right. I want to give you even more money. What more can I offer you? I will offer you even more just so I can stay around with you. Please don't leave me. What more can I give you in life? Do not leave me, please. Okay, you left me. I've told everybody how terrible you are anyway. I've hated you for so long, and I'm glad you left. It's a business. And I hope the people that are in charge of it, that have been complaining about the players leaving constantly, that Greg Sankey saying, if these players start getting paid, college football fans are going to start viewing college football as a professional sport. And oh my God, how terrible would that be if the players got paid? Because can you imagine players opting out before the playoffs? What a terrible thing to happen for college football. These terrible players that look at it and go, I don't want to work hard enough to earn my job there, so I'm willing to leave because another program is going to give me a chance to be the main guy there. And these players, that's what's wrong with it once you start paying. And then you actually see it happen with a coach that says, I've got a better, even though I'm in the playoffs, I've got a better chance of winning a national championship long term and sustaining the national championship ability at LSU. Because he's right. It's a better program than Ole Miss. Plain and simple. And that's what pisses Ole Miss off. And they're so hurt about that reality that they're willing to give up a national championship this year, and let's be honest, their last chance at a national championship. Unless they fall into another coach like Lane Kiffin down the road. He may fall on his face at LSU. And this isn't a Lane Kiffin defense. Lane Kiffin has done plenty of things. His reputation is there. I ain't here to hold water for Lane Kiffin. What I'm saying is, Ole Miss is missing the forest for the trees. And if Lane Kiffin was at Mizzou and they were in the playoffs this year, I'd be totally fine with Lane Kiffin coaching at Mizzou in the playoffs. Because I would like to see my team play for a national championship. And guess what? He's gone anyway. He's gone anyway. And any player that would have left after the playoffs would have left if he was there or not. If you're going to follow Lane Kiffin, you're going to follow him if he's coaching in the playoffs or somebody else is coaching in the playoffs. In fact, I might be more willing to follow Lane Kiffin if this school, and I say, I want him to be our coach. We've got here with him. Let's finish this thing. And they say, no, he's gone. You get somebody else. Well, bleep you then. Then I'm following him then. Because this is what we wanted. We wanted him to be the coach, and you said no because your feelings are hurt. He's leaving us too. But we want to finish it. You owe it to us so we can finish it. All right, good luck on that national championship run in 2026 and 27 and 28 and 29 and 30. We'll see. I'm glad, though, because Missouri's got Ole Miss on their schedule, so it's all good now. But if Eli was in the same exact boat and turned Missouri around and they're in the playoffs this year at 11-2 and a chance to really win it, like a top 5, top 6 team in the country, a chance to win it, not just, oh, you got in the playoffs, let's see what happens. Hopefully the coin flips in your favor. The ball bounces your way. But a chance to actually win it, and he took the LSU job? Finish it, Eli. Let's go. Finish it, and then figure it out after that. But a chance to win the whole thing, man. How often do you get that? For Ole Miss, it's been since 1960. And they're probably going to be waiting until 2060 before another one. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Andy Reid next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Mick Schaefer joins us in the 1 o'clock hour, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Let's hear from Andy Reid as they get set for the Houston Texans on Sunday night. Here is Andy in his Monday press conference opening statement.
So we took players got a couple days off for the Thanksgiving break there, and then they'll be back in to work here tomorrow. So they, I don't have a ton to give you on where we're at with them. So in the injury update, the guys are working to get themselves healthy right now. So everybody's in the process. Josh is getting a second evaluation on his wrist, and we'll just see what goes from there. And then the other guys, the Trays and JT, all those guys are improving as they go forward here. So we'll see how they do here in the next couple days. As far as the game goes, the obvious is the penalty situation. We got to make sure we take care of business with the penalties and keep working our fundamentals and techniques. And I'm not telling you I agree with all of them, but or half of them, but I will tell you that they took place. And so we're not going to use that as any kind of an excuse. We're going to work on getting better at what we do and can control. So, and then we'll take it from there. I thought the effort was good. I thought the guys that stepped in did a nice job on the offensive line. We had a couple, 3 guys that had played in there that hadn't played in there, but had opportunities to play where they started, or a couple of them had to come into the game. But listen, they've all played in games. They've all started games. And so we've got trust in them that if called on here, they'll be ready to go. And still with all this, I mean, I know people are, people in media included, and I get it, but we're still in the mix right here, which is a great thing. And the guys, once they get back here, they'll be ready to go, and we'll head through the practices coming up and get ourselves ready to play against a good Texan team. And they are good. They're one of the top defenses in the National Football League, top third down defense in the National Football League. So, and they've got a great defensive front and so on. So but again, we get ourselves ready to play, and that's our primary focus. We're fortunate to play here at home at GH Field at Arrowhead Stadium with our fans, and we know we tighten up a couple of things here. We're right there to put a push on here these last few games. So anyways, with that, time's yours.
Tighten up a few things and you're right there to make a run. There you go. Just tighten up a few things. Penalties, got to take care of business. Not telling you I agree with half. I agree with all of them or even half of them. But I do appreciate anybody saying, you got to take care of what you can control. What can you control? Okay? Does it change a technique? Okay, then change a technique on what was called a hold. I don't think it was. Xavier Worthy, offensive pass interference. I don't think that was offensive pass interference, but could you have done something different? I don't know. Andy Reid continued. Pete Sweeney asked about Wanya Morris possibly having to step up this week.
Yeah, Wanya went in and had a chance to play in the game, and I thought after the first couple of plays, he really settled in and did a nice job there. So we should, but yes, I mean, he would be one of the potential guys in there.
And then I guess the other thing is that a lot of times in these tough times that you point to the fact that the system, the offense and the defense are close. I guess, do you feel that way now? And I guess what tells you that?
Yeah. So Pete, you're 1 or 2 plays away, and that's what this game is. I mean, you look at our season, we're 1 or 2 plays off, and we've got to take care of that. Whether it's a penalty at a crucial time, possible turnover somewhere, or having a chance to create a turnover. We're right in position where if we can figure out those 2-3 plays, you flip this around. I mean, you're talking 3-point game, 1-score games here that we're dealing with. So, but you've got to do that, and you got to figure that out. And that's our challenge. As coaches, we got to make sure we're putting the guys in the right position. Got to make sure we're mentally prepared to play 4 quarters, and then have a positive attitude. You're not going to hear a lot of positive from the outside coming in. So you got to make sure that you understand where you really sit and the opportunities that you have sitting in front of you. And I know our fans understand that. I mean, you guys understand it. You're here, but you know that there's still opportunities.
1 or 2 plays off. There's a penalty, a turnover, a chance to create a turnover. You make those. I think sometimes it's too simplistic to say, oh, it's just a play here or there. 1 or 2 plays if those are made, and we've talked about that this year. Maybe it was 5 or 6 plays, and maybe you made 4 or 5. But the one you didn't make is the one you go, man, if you just make that play, you win. Well, what if you don't make the ones before that? So when you're in close games, you shouldn't be in a position where you have to make all of them like you had to do against the Colts to win. You had to make all of them. You did. Because if they lost to the Colts, I bet we look back and go, 1 or 2 plays here, 1 or 2 plays there. They just make 1 play here, 1 play there. We can do that with every single game. But then we're also ignoring the plays that were made along the way. Here is Andy Reid continued. Soren asked whether or not the Chiefs are making the same mistakes over and over, or is it new stuff each week?
Yeah, well, you got to take care of the holding calls on the offense. So we've got to make sure we take care of that part. And then on the defensive side, when we have opportunities there, whether it's third down to get off the field, you got to get off the field. So those are things that we can work through. Guys are pushing through some things. George is out there busting his tail. Now he's got the bad hand, and he's trying to work through that and get that taken care of. But a fumble that might be right there. Well, make sure you're following the play. Get on the play, or an interception that goes through your hands. Make sure we squeeze the ball. So those are things we can take care of. Those are things that we control and we take care of. So I think we can pinpoint the things that are going on and work on them and fix them.
What about drops? I know you had a couple that resulted in big interceptions early on. You had a couple in this game that were critical moments. Is that highlighted just because you're not coming up on the winning side, and maybe we as media, you mentioned media fans, coaches, we kind of forget about it when it's a win, it just kind of fades away, but it stands out more? Or do you look at, I know you guys chart all that stuff, do you look at it and say drops are a bigger problem for us this year?
Yeah, well, we had the one at the end. I mean, there was one at the end, and Rashid normally doesn't drop a football, so that's not his deal. And, the Kelsey one there was a penalty on the play, so it didn't kind of negated that whole thing. But those guys, you talk about either one of those two, and they've made the great plays too. So I don't look at that as something that's hindering us. I mean, that's not something we've got to take care of the penalty part of it. I think Soren, as we go forward here, and just get that taken care of. These things are happening at crucial times, and it takes you out of a flow. It might be a time that you're first and 15, first and 20, second and 20. It takes you out of your run game stuff, the flow of that potentially, or whatever you have going at that time that's sending you forward. Now you're going backwards. And then likewise, you're using good plays. So you're using up plays when you do these things, and that's not a healthy thing to do.
One more, this is the routes. Are you happy with the guys? Are the routes crisp, and is Pat and his receivers on the same page, and everyone, running the routes the way they should be run right now?
Yeah, they're doing okay. I was proud of 1 and 4. They both pushed through some nagging things there with the ankle and the hamstring to get themselves out there and to play, actually get out and play. And they had some big plays for us. But for the most part, yeah, they're on the same page with the quarterback.
All right, there you go. We'll hear more from Andy Reid as we continue more Zone right after this. You know, one more touchdown there in that game for the Chiefs could have changed a lot. And one touchdown can change everything in the NFL. The crowd, the momentum, the game itself, it never gets old. You can feel that same rush with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, where every touchdown can bring you closer to cashing in. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, all the action, it's in your hands. First touchdowns, anytime touchdowns, live bets, every play, every snap, every game matters. And here's the best part. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. When your team hits the end zone, you could hit the payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 810WHB. That's code 810WHB. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, Kansas only. Eligibility and restrictions apply on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We continue hearing from Andy Reid in his Monday press conference Zoom. Jesse Newell asked about the fact that the Chiefs are plus 73 in point differential, but just 6-6.
Yeah. So we do have stats, and but you need points, and you need to make sure that you take care of business when you're in the red zone. If you need to score 35, you score 35. If you need to score 20, you make sure that you have more points than they have, and that's all three phases. I mean, it includes everybody. And we pick up, Jesse. You pick up, and you saw it in this last game. You pick up a play here or there. That's the difference in the game, and that's where we're at right now. And we've got to flip that around, and to do that, you've got to take care of some of these issues, and then it's a different ballgame, But you have to do it. I mean, I could stand here and talk about it, but you've got to go do it.
And the second one, I just wondered, you said a few years ago that Mike Frazier communicates with you on fourth down decisions in the headset, and then you have 51% of the vote. I just wondered, you guys have been one of the most aggressive teams throughout the course of the season, throughout this year, but is that still the process that you go through on every fourth down decision as you hear from him, and then you ultimately make the call?
Yes. I mean, he and I will talk during those or before those take place, or even before the game. We kind of go through all that during the week, So Frazier and I have a long meeting on Fridays, and just where he and I go through situation stuff and where we need to go with it.
Well, I'll tell you this, down 20-14, Patrick Mahomes on 4th down and 3 had to wave off the field goal unit. I'm glad he did, but that was an offensive game where Andy Reid was going to play for a field goal on 4th down and goal. They ended up getting the touchdown. That was the pass to Rashee Rice. Thankfully, Patrick Mahomes said, no, I ain't leaving. It's 4th and goal. We're going for it here. Get off the field. Andy was asked about specifics on how they deal with penalties.
Yeah, so from a team standpoint, I just say we got to keep working on fundamentals and make sure we're staying sound on those. As far as the league goes, they give you an opportunity to express yourself. So, that's what we do. And then, right or wrong, you hope either we can learn from it or they can learn from it and see where we're at. So we can continue to coach the guys in the right direction.
Have you felt like you can understand the flow of that through this season? I know there's been some ups and downs with what you've probably tried to communicate and what's happened. How do you measure the feeling of progress or not in that?
Yeah.
With the league, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So you're never going to agree with everything. I mean, you're not going to do that. So you try to express yourself and then you move on. I mean, there's nothing you can do. There's never been a call that by me griping that gets changed. I mean, that doesn't. But you just hope that between the two parties, you come together and you can figure out what it is, like from a coaching standpoint, what I can tell my guys, and then two, maybe it can help an official. So I mean that's I found over the years that's probably the best way and the only way to get it done.
Hopefully they get it done soon. They better. Got to figure it out now. Quickly. Quickly. More to come. More to hear from Andy Reid as we continue on this Monday edition. We'll hang out with Mick Shea from the 1 o'clock hour, KSHB 41 Sports Director. We got Learn Funniest Best still to come. Talk to him about what he saw over the weekend and on Thursday. Some college football, a little bit of that. K-State taking care of business. Mizzou taking care of business. KU, another game that's been the theme of this season, unfortunately for them. Some other things to get into as well. Mick Schaefer coming up next. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Michael Darcy. Mick Schaefer hanging out with us here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. He is presented by Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk. The winter months are here, but you can celebrate the winter months at Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk and hang out with them and have a fun time. And we had my son's birthday party on Saturday.
I wish you were my dad.
I know. I've heard that so often. It's crazy. But no, coming
Daddy
up on
Jason.
Damn it. Coming up on December 20th, you can celebrate the holidays at Advent Health Sports Park. December 20th. Start your day with brunch and bowling with Santa at 10 o'clock in the morning, then hit the ice for skating with the Grinch at 2 o'clock with festive fun, photos, family memories all in one. Magical day. Don't miss it at Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk. Mick Schaefer is
Can
with
I
us.
use Sterling's chair as a footrest?
Yes.
Okay, since it's not getting used
It's not
for
being
anything
used.
else.
No, it hasn't been in use in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, feel free.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate
relax, take a load off. It's you probably had a pretty stressful drive in.
I did.
So let's just relax for the hour.
Thank you
Let's
so
just
much.
Sit back and chill. And while we're relaxing,
His 10-day trip has taken like 14 days, I feel like, at this point.
it feels like it's been a while.
Yeah.
Been a little bit. Been a while.
Before he left, he goes, I'll see you in December. It was like November 20th.
Yeah.
That is true. At least he didn't say, before we left for Christmas, see you next year. And then, because I'll see you next year.
Oh, he will in 30 days.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward
Or
to
no,
it.
he will in 15 days when he takes the rest of December off.
Hopefully the Chiefs aren't taking December off, or January, I should say.
They took November off.
Yeah, they did take November off, that's for sure. 1-3, good run, everybody. Thankfully, they had a bye week in there, so they didn't have to lose that one. But Andy Reid with his press conference today in the Zoom, wrapping up those clips. Matt Derrick asked about some of the stats that point to more wins than they have.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, it's like, I'm telling you, it's a few plays there. That's what it is. And penalties are killers. And you want to create turnovers on the defensive side. And when you have opportunities to do that, you've got to capitalize on them. Third downs become important, both sides of the ball, how you handle those. So can we do better with the rush? Yeah, we can get a little bit more rush on the defensive side. On the offensive side, we can continue to work our protection and scheme there. So, but you can't allow quarterbacks at this level to stand back there and throw the ball with just comfortable feet. I think we know that. And so you've got to make sure that you have pressure on those guys. And when that takes place, then you've got to make sure that your coverage is tight. So, and that's what you work on. You go through that and you work on it and try to get better. You see teams 2 weeks ago, you looked at the Dallas Cowboys and you kind of went, they're just playing okay. 2 weeks later, they're playing good football. And so these things change quickly in this league, one way or the other. And so you've got to keep going forward and try to eliminate some of the things that are taking you backwards and do it with a positive attitude. It's the only way to go.
I'm sure you've looked at the standings. This isn't your first rodeo. You know that you pretty much have to win the next 5 games. If you lose one, you're going to need a lot of help to get into playoffs. What's your level of confidence that things can start going your way and that you can win these next 5 games in a row?
Yeah, well, I believe that. I mean, I believe if you're coming to me on this, Matt, I'm telling you, we're going to go after you every game. And, that's how we roll. We're going to try to tickle your tonsils on every play, every game. And, but that's the attitude that we're coming in with. And then you let the chips fall where they may. But at the same time, you got to make sure you take care of the small things here that we've got rolling. We've got to make sure that we get rid of some of these mistakes. But there's not a game that I go into that I don't think we're going to get after you.
Coach, I just wonder, for the last, however many years, at this point of the year, you guys have probably had to find ways to coach and motivate a team that's kind of winning all the close games. What's the challenge like just for you guys as a staff to be dealing with these kind of things at this point of the year? Is it a little more challenging than years past for you guys as a staff?
Listen, every season is different. And this game, this is a sport of challenges. That's what it is. It's probably a microcosm of life as you look at it. I mean, there's always challenges. And so to win a game in the National Football League, there's such a small margin between winning and losing that every week is a challenge, a major challenge. That's the way you have to approach it. And then you have to be ready for it as players and coaches. You got to be ready for that. And then when given opportunities, you got to take advantage of opportunities.
I don't think I had. Where's the bingo card for Andy Reid?
I didn't hear the last minute.
I don't know what he said. Todd Lebo got in there, and I believe he asked a question. I'm not sure what the question was that Todd asked him.
I did have a follow-up question, but it wasn't Todd's question.
Okay.
Smiles and glory hole.
Nope, no, that's not. No, that's Jerry Jones, and that's a different glory hole. That's not the tickle your tonsils that you're talking about. Michael, no, okay.
I just looked up online. Does that phrase have an older, different
you Googled
meaning?
that? I didn't Google it.
I couldn't find an older, different meaning. I found Urban Dictionary's meaning.
Yeah, see, I wasn't going to Google it.
Same meaning at a lot of other sites.
Yeah, I wasn't.
We're going to try to tickle your tonsils on every play, every game.
Yeah, take that, Texans. They're going to shove it down your throat.
Maybe just don't show up.
Crying here. Thank you, Andy Reid, for
a guy,
lightening the mood. I mean, come on. We were talking about cleaning things up and going to work and looking forward to the challenge and time's yours and well-coached team, and that is not on anybody's bingo card.
Tickle your tonsils on every play, every game.
That's right.
This guy goes out of his way not to say anything to the media.
That's so true.
I mean, he was like just about a play, about a player. There's always that filter in his head. And
doggone it, Matt.
Doggone it, Matt. Filter took
doggone it, Herbie.
I know your first 10 questions to Matt on Friday.
I mean, I was going to ask him, does he like fights in the stands and people
smiles and glory holes?
No, that's not what he's talking about. I know they were in Dallas. I know they were, but I don't think that's what Andy Reid was mentioning. I think it was something, there's got to be a football phrase for that. Not what Jerry Jones is talking about. I don't know.
Now, said the Chiefs would have won that game, and this would have happened, I would have been like, what are the chances Jerry went to Andy and said, hey, I'll give you this win if you say something worse than my glory hole bite,
I want me some glory hole.
So now all the attention will be on you. But they lost, so I don't think that happened.
Yeah, no, it's but Jerry did say, hey, if you say this, they won't think about the loss anymore.
It's true.
We have lost a lot of games and a lot of years as the owner here in Dallas. But you know what people talk about more than our wins and losses?
I want me some glory hole.
That's what they talk about. You know why? Because I'm smart. Marketer. They ain't talking about our losses here. All right? So give them something to distract them.
Tickle your tonsils on every play, every game.
That's right. Nice job, Andy. Got it right there.
I know what it means, but I think it means I don't know how he would be using it though. Or maybe he's using it that way, and that's just
want
how hard they're gonna play.
Tickle your tonsils, to wet your whistle.
Definitely has to clean that one up.
To light your fire.
He's not even cleaning up his language.
Man.
Usually I'm the reason this last hour gets derailed.
This was Andy Reid.
It's his fault.
Yeah. So there you go. The fact it's to Matt.
Matt, first of all, he gave Matt the longest soundbite he's ever given anybody.
Matt, I'll tell you what. Matt, for you.
For you, here
For you, Matt, I'll tell you, doggone it. We are going to find a way to tickle your tonsils every single play. That's what we look for. Hey, Nagy, give me that tonsil tickle. Tonsil tickle. Give me that tonsil tickler. Come on. Guys, it's 3rd and 19. What do we got? Tonsil tickler right now. Nagy, call it. Nags.
I'm surprised Shock Jock Todd did not follow up.
He did follow up.
With what does that mean?
It's like, I did have a different question. I'm glad you called on me right here. What's that, Coach?
What does it mean?
Care to elaborate? Do you have plays like that? Is there a formation?
Oh, I'm so happy right now.
Tickle your tonsils on every play, every game.
I mean, the roads are bad today. I went to the dentist this morning.
Did you get your tonsils tickled there?
I did not.
Okay.
I feel like
I didn't know if was that part of it.
Shortchanged.
Yeah, apparently you got a cleaning.
Yeah,
nice. Look, they look sparkly white.
I would have gagged.
Yeah, typically. Yeah,
I mean, I can't brush my teeth without gagging every morning. I'm saying
we got the tongue cleaner.
Yeah,
Tickle your tonsils on every play, every game.
What happens if you had your tonsils removed? Then what? Then that's still so. That's what happened.
What's the little thing that hangs down? What's that thing called?
Gobbler.
The gobbler? Something like that.
I don't know.
I used to think that was your tonsils, but it's
So
not.
did I.
It's not.
I thought it was too.
It's
I
like
always thought
all
that
the
was too.
old Tom and Jerry cartoons. Whenever like shoved down your mouth, you always see that. Yeah,
just hanging there. Yeah,
like he eats Jerry's. He lights up a lantern inside Tom's mouth, and he sees the little
That's right.
gobbler there. He starts boxing it like it's a bag.
That's right. What do you? So, here's what I'm wondering. When they have struggled in these games, like do the Broncos and Cowboys, do they have a bunch of players without tonsils on their defense?
They have a stopper. They
Is
have
that
a ball
probably
in their mouth.
Oh, you know what? They've got the mouthpiece.
If you ever seen Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I got that. Got that there.
No more details needed.
Tickle your tonsils on every.
No, fortunately, it's not the Chiefs taking it to other teams. So the Chiefs defense, Chiefs secondary was getting tickled.
Pass rush is not. They're not even getting past like the teeth.
Man, I had a topic for this segment. I did, but I don't know what it was.
That shan't never be.
I have no idea what
revealed.
It was. I have no idea. What it probably needs to be is, let's just go ahead and regroup, and then we'll come back. We'll do learn funniest best.
I'm grouped.
Okay. But let's do that anyway.
Okay.
We'll come back. We'll find out what we learned in the last 20 minutes, the funniest from the last 20 minutes, and our best from the last 20 minutes.
Tickle your tonsils on every play, every game.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Michael Darcy, Mick Schaefer. We are heading up until 2 o'clock when we hand it off to Soren Petro in the program. Mick Schaefer presented by Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk. Celebrate the holidays, everybody, in style at Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk. December 20th, you can start your day with brunch and bowling with Santa at 10 o'clock in the morning, then hit the ice for skating with the Grinch at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's festive fun, photos, family memories, all in one magical day. Don't miss it at Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk. They present Mick Schaefer here in this 1 o'clock hour. Time for a little learned, funniest, and best from the weekend and the longer weekend, the 4-day weekend. What we learned, the funniest and the best from that. There's a lot of things to learn in the last 25 minutes or so. But I'll go back to what I did write down and learn. I learned on Thanksgiving Day in watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I can't remember what channel that's on. I don't know. It's on one of those
41.
channels. Kishba? Kishba. Yep. Yeah, it was on Kishba. But I'm watching the parade, and they have all the regular stuff. You know, they got the cool new pop singers and things like that, and Bluey's there. And then all of a sudden, there's a promo for a bed, and out there performing is Debbie Gibson. And I thought, I guess I just learned that Debbie Gibson is still performing. She's
seen
still
her
out doing her
randomly
thing
over the years doing stuff.
Yeah. Still out there doing her thing. So, Debbie Gibson,
My
star.
wife celebrates
late
all
80s.
of her work.
I mean, the
That
entire
was
the entire
the
catalog.
collection.
The entire catalog.
Yeah. How's she holding up?
I mean, she still holds up.
Okay.
Looks like Debbie Gibson. I saw it. I'm like, wow, there's no way that she's okay.
Yeah.
She's 55. Okay.
Yeah.
Good for her. So, yeah, I learned that. I learned that Debbie Gibson is still out there rocking it and still getting paid.
I was a
to go and do
Bengals.
that.
I was a Bengals girl growing up, but Debbie
There you go. Yeah.
Gibson was fine.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. Totally. I've been lost in your eyes for a while. What did you learn from the weekend?
I learned that the new athletic director of Louisiana Monroe is a guy by the name of Sean Toohey.
Okay.
You and I and everybody else might know him as S.J. Toohey. The younger brother from the Blindside family has grown up, and now he is athletic director at UL Monroe.
No way.
That is S.J.
So that's the real
S.J., not the actor.
Not the actor, which would have been funny either way.
The real S.J.
Wow. That's crazy. So he just needs to get the job then at Ole Miss.
Yes.
So why doesn't he get that job?
I don't know. That was that's the next step. Next step for him.
Clearly,
it actually could be. I mean,
Keith Carter. I don't know. He's doing his thing, right? Seems to be doing just fine. They told Lane Kiffin to go and leave so they can go and lose the national championship in the playoffs. Michael, what'd you learn this weekend?
I learned that Shelby Harris is one of many players that don't really like Juwan Jennings.
He's a hoe, and I want that known. Like, I see why he got punched in the nuts, because that's he says some things that you should not say to another man ever. But I don't respect it because you say that, then run behind your O-line. That's some real soft, and I want that known. I see exactly why they punched you in the nuts. I'm surprised nobody punched him in the jaw yet.
That's crazy.
Oh, man.
I guess maybe Juwan Jennings had it coming. I don't know what he's been saying, but clearly there's people that don't like him.
I mean, this has been a fascinating weekend with all of that. And then what's going on with Lane Kiffin.
Crazy weekend for the host.
I mean, right? Man. Whew. Funniest for you from the weekend, Mick?
The funniest for me from the weekend, oh my gosh, I had it here somewhere.
Oh, no.
Where did it
go?
Where did it go?
I'm not sure.
It was I was back in my hometown, and we were having breakfast with our friends. She brought her daughter, and then my brother, his girlfriend, had her daughter there. They're both like 5 or 6 years old. They're fast friends. They were hitting it off, and then at one point, when both moms were there, one little girl said, "Do you want to trade moms?" And that was just funny. It was really funny. So they didn't at least to my knowledge, trade moms.
They didn't?
Yeah, that was it. It was funny.
They've done that like the house, like the swap, right? They have TV shows about that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and see if
Wife
you really
swap.
wife swap, kid swap.
Kid swap.
Yeah, see how you like it.
God, sign me up.
That could go either way. I mean, that could
Same
be bad.
with wife swap. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, careful what you wish for.
Right, exactly. I mean, the kid goes there and they're like, it was amazing. It was the coolest thing ever. Like, you are so strict. I hate you. I want to move there.
The SEC is doing that same show with coaches this year. Coach swap.
We're going to watch it firsthand.
Watch it
firsthand. We're going to see what happens. What was the funniest for you from the weekend, Michael?
I got two things, one of which we just heard, but they both involve Andy Reid. And
right.
so I saw a tweet on Twitter by a Bills fan. A lot of angry KC fans on the timeline, and I get it, but if Sean McDermott coached us to 5 Super Bowls and we won 3 of them, he could wake me up every morning by barging into my bedroom and punching me square in the face, and I'd still just smile and say thank you. And the second part of that, I mean...
Chiefs fans used to say that.
Yeah.
Used to say that.
Tickle your tonsils on every play, every game.
Would he be cool if he woke him up doing that? I guess if you're the Bills, you probably would.
Your tonsils on
ring,
every,
yeah.
You know what?
Every play.
Yeah, 3 Super Bowls in 6 years and 5 Super Bowl appearances in 6 years. I think they're probably.
There are people who tickle tonsils that don't get a ring.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's the Bills fans have been through it. You know what I mean? They have had to deal with a whole lot in their fandom over the years. So there you go. My funniest from the weekend was, so we were looking for something to watch. My father-in-law, mother-in-law in town, and this was like Friday or Saturday, something like that. And so we're scrolling through, and Netflix is on, and it shows like the Stranger Things, and my father-in-law, mother-in-law, so they're like, "What's Stranger Things?" Like, everybody's talking about it. Like, is it good? They're like, "It's a TV show," and so I'm sort of explaining it to them, and I'm like, "Well, it's a bunch of kids that are like in the 80s," and my son was like, "Well, can we watch it?" I said, "No, it's for older people. There's monsters and there's scary stuff and there's some horror in it."
I will not tell your son that my 5-year-old niece has watched every episode.
That's fine.
Okay.
But I'm sort of explaining it like that. I'm like, it's scary parts. There's horror in there, and there's some things that kids don't need to see. And my son goes, "I don't understand it. Why don't people just watch Alvin and the Chipmunks? It's so chill."
Good point.
Said, "You know what?
It's a great show.
I guess we should watch Alvin and the Chipmunks then." It's like, I'm with you, dude. He's like, "Why has everybody got to be with this horror stuff and getting scared? Just watch Alvin and the Chipmunks. It's so chill, man."
There's like 4 of them, too.
Right? Clearly my son a fan, since our dog's name is Theo. So,
the
named
Chipettes,
it after that.
That movie?
The Chipettes. Yep.
Really good.
Absolutely. Like, I know the, why can't I remember his name right now?
David Cross?
No, but the dad.
Jason Lee.
Yes, thank you. I know him as Brody from Mallrats.
Yes.
If I saw him in public, I would go, "Brody!" Not a mall, the mall. That kid is on the escalator again. And they would go, that's Alvin and Theodore's, that's Alvin Simons Theodore's dad.
He'll always
He's right
be
there.
He'll always be Earl to me.
Yeah, I can see him being Earl
Or
too.
a literal world-class skateboarder, which is what he was before he started acting.
Was he really?
One of the top in the world skateboarders.
No kidding.
Yes.
Wow.
It's like the rival Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, they have like a skateboard in the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie.
Yeah. Jason Lee suggested.
Oh, he does that. That's right. And he suggested doing that?
I don't know. I'm guessing maybe.
No, that's right. He does show
that.
up. He does show up because it's like the lady he's dating's son, that it's kind of an issue, right? The relationship isn't great, and he's kind of rebelling to a degree, right? And he's at a skate park or something, and so he shows up and pulls off these crazy skateboard tricks. Jason Lee does. And the whole time I thought it was like an actor.
Yeah.
I thought it was like
probably him the whole time.
I guarantee it was probably him the whole time. That's my learned.
Okay.
I just learned that Jason Lee is a world-class skateboarder, and also pretty awesome when it comes to acting. And Mallrats. How's your comic book collection coming on? Well, it's what comic book collection? I'm all man, lady. You should check out Mallrats, Michael. Okay. One day it'll be your turn to see the sailboat. One day. The best for you from the weekend, Mick or Michael?
Yep, Michael.
Michael, we start with you. Michael?
The best was just the 4-day weekend, enjoying time with the family and getting over that Thanksgiving loss, but it was a good period off.
Yeah. Yeah, my best is probably that too, but that's boring. So that's obviously a lot of people's best. I think my best, I'm going to go with Lane Kiffin maybe after the Egg Bowl game and win. As he's heading back to the press conference, he sees a media member that had some commentary
Called him a hoe?
about Lane Kiffin. Yeah, said you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, and Lane Kiffin decided to approach him.
So you want to walk in here and call me a hoe? We'll see how it goes.
So yeah, walk in here and call me a hoe. We'll see how it goes.
I was expecting more from the press conference. I wanted more from Lane. In this battle, I'm on Lane's side, going after that kid who's defending himself. Yep. I didn't call you a hoe. I'm like,
it's a metaphor.
Buddy.
It's really about commitment.
Okay, yeah.
Also, I mean,
I'm guessing he was a blogger.
Yeah, Mick, can we evolve? Why can't it be you can't turn a hoe into a husband?
I know, right?
You know, there are plenty of hoes out there that are guys.
Guys be hoes,
right? Because we're talking about Lane Kiffin here.
Yes,
you know what I mean. And he's also Ole Miss. Like you had him for
you can't turn a pimp into a papa.
That's exactly right. Yes, you had him for 6 years. Most divorces end within that time.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
You got Lane. Is Lane Kiffin going to?
You locked him down.
Is Lane Kiffin going to be at LSU for 6 years or more? I don't know.
That was love.
Yes, he was with you for 6. He even said, "My heart is still here in Oxford." Okay, you have my heart, but they're trying to tickle my tonsils, so I'm going to head over to LSU. Yeah, that's right.
Every play, every game.
That's right. That's what LSU did to Lane Kiffin. Got him ready to go. Made a move. You know what Ole Miss should have done?
Tickle your tonsils.
That's what they should have done. Maybe he would have stayed.
Every play, every game.
Maybe he would have stayed. That was my best from the weekend. What about you, Mick?
Great quote from Mario Cristobal. He says, "There's no such thing as bad weather, just soft people."
The guy lives in Miami,
He
right?
lives in Miami.
He's not like what?
I mean, they're traveling more now for the ACC, but like, okay,
what in the hell?
I mean, I'll get behind that, but I mean, I would expect like the Michigan head coach to say that, right? Or
yes, Ryan Day or something. You know,
North Dakota State. That's on there. It's above their locker when they run out to the field. They slap that quote. But yeah, Miami. Okay. Yeah. You're just,
Oh, really?
Don't be complaining about 68 degrees, okay?
I heard the Seth Kaiser guy. It's like, it's like minus 15 there and like 8 inches, 10 inches of snow. How soft is that, dude? No, honey. I'm not going to go to the beach today. All right? I got to work.
It's 62.
Yes. I'm not going to wear a jacket. I'm not going to walk outside when I need a jacket. No way. Not going to do that. Not down here.
That's probably what's like, listen, I will never complain. If it's 62 degrees and windy out, you will never hear me complaining, okay? That's the toughness I want instilled in my football team.
Do you prefer 100-degree days or like minus 2? Why would I have to choose? Why can't I just have like anywhere from like 65 to 84? Is there not a choice?
Why are you
them?
making up numbers?
Yeah, just make it like. Are you talking about? Is that a Celsius thing? What are we using here with that? I'm not sure. I did also like one of the tweets from the weekend that it said that Nate Bargatze made it into the Vanderbilt postgame locker room after the game was over in Tennessee in Knoxville, and it was something along the lines of like, so. I'm just trying to figure out, like, so if you don't play for your conference championship, like, you can still make the college football playoff, but, like, other teams could, like, play for a conference championship and lose and not make the college football playoff. Why is that? And nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And then it just became a string of, like, college football stuff with Nate Bargatze. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. We may talk a little bit about that and the college football conversation that has taken place over the weekend.
Sport.
I mean, right?
It's the best sport.
It's the great. Like,
as long as that stuff's not happening to my team, when it's not happening to my team, I love it.
oh my God, it's amazing, right?
Yes.
Although, by the way, I would love for that to happen to Mizzou. Like, oh no, you're making the playoffs.
It kind of is happening to Oklahoma State because we watched the North Texas game. And I was like, I want him. I want him. I want 2 of those guys. I want all of those guys.
Give me that guy over there. Give me that guy over there.
Tickle your tonsils on every play, every game.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Michael Darcy, Mick Schaefer hanging out with us, presented by Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk. Lane Kiffin will be introduced as the LSU head coach at 2:30 there in Baton Rouge. Now the reports are it's close to $13 million annually.
What was he making at Ole Miss?
Not that. I think it was
Probably
like
8 or 9.
Eight or
like that.
nine. I think he might have been making more than Eli. I'd go back and look.
So you're Team Kiffin on this whole deal.
I'm not Team Kiffin necessarily because
You're
like
anti Ole Miss fans.
I guess I'm anti like Ole Miss feeling now that Lane Kiffin left. Well, now we no longer have to put our morals on hold of what we think of the guy. We think he's a terrible person. He's this, he's that, he's a snake, he's terrible. But now that he's decided to take the LSU job, well, then get the hell out of here. We don't want you around to go and coach through the playoffs, even though this is the last shot they're going to have to win a playoff.
Yeah.
And he's a big reason why they're in the playoffs.
I mean, I can't imagine not being off the charts pissed at my head coach if he leaves before playoff.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally get the hurt feelings.
He wants to. There's so many layers to this thing.
Yeah.
He wanted to keep coaching.
Yeah. LSU was allowing him to keep coaching.
And they were, which also begs the question, okay, if that's the case, can you not wait till the day after your season ends to make that announcement, right? If you're LSU, you're finally like, okay. And if you're
and they don't hire anybody.
Kiffin had to know.
Yeah.
And I think he said in that interview with Marty Smith, I get it. I knew Ole Miss was not going to let me coach. I don't think that's – I get it, Ole Miss, and it's probably the right move. I don't think it's as cut and dry of a decision, though, as people make it out to be.
Yeah, agreed.
To where, I mean, I get the argument of, like, he's going to have a few more weeks to recruit his own players to LSU. I'm like, well, he's known those guys for months and years.
Right.
Right? A couple more weeks isn't going to bond them even more. He still has their numbers, right? He's still going to call who he wants to.
Yeah. And once they're done playing in the playoff, that portal window opens.
But
now,
I mean,
now they can get in the portal.
It is different than Eric Morris at North Texas to take a Power 4 job at Oklahoma State in a different. This is your rival.
Yeah.
This is maybe the most hated team ever in the history of the SEC. You are jumping ship to in a neighboring state, right? Where you have got us on the. This is what you're going to LSU to do, right? Is to win national championships.
Yeah.
You got an opportunity right here. You're going to bail on that. Yeah, I would be bringing I'd be bringing my baby to the airport, taking his tiny little fingers and putting the middle one at the airplane.
So I tweeted out, I was like, look, just because you can't find a babysitter doesn't mean that you're going to miss your opportunity to scream and yell at a coach that's leaving for another school. My point is, like, what I find to be fascinating is sort of the easy, like, Lane Kiffin sucks. He's a terrible person, and he knew this is what he was, and he was going to jump ship, and he never cared about you, and he's selfish and only cares about himself. And Ole Miss, there's no way you can let him coach in the playoff, and you got to say, get the hell out. But the way I view it is, if you're Ole Miss, you knew who he was. So it's easy now to say, like, he's a scoundrel and he only cares about himself. He doesn't care about other people. But you were okay with that while he was your coach because you spent the last month trying to keep him as your head coach.
Have you ever watched college football?
I know.
So it is more tribalism than tribes.
Right, I know.
Right? Even ancient tribes all over the world would be like, man, these guys take it really seriously.
I mean, we kill each other over that, but we're not that bad.
Yeah.
These people, that's crazy. But if you're Ole Miss, you are saying he's so vital to this program that we are going to do everything we can to try to keep him. But as soon as he took the LSU job, we are going to say, get the hell out, and then tell the players who wanted Kiffin to stay and coach that, sorry, he can't coach, and we're going to do this here with you. If you thought you could still have a program that was going to be just fine, you wouldn't have done everything you've done for Lane Kiffin in the last month or so. You've said, go on, that's fine, we'll move on without you. I think it's hurt feelings, and I get why it's hurt feelings.
Yeah,
but I think it's hurt feelings of, you know what, bleep you, you're out, rather than, you know what, finish the job. LSU is going to let you coach. Let's go win a national championship. It sucks that you're going to go to LSU, but
that might be the best. That might be the best call. This move is submarined. Half the coaching staff's gone. Right? You go on the website. There's like 8 coaches.
And so, like,
left
again, I said this
on
earlier.
that they haven't taken off.
If it was Eli Drinkwitz and the same thing, like he had gotten Missouri not just to the playoff, but hey, you can win the thing.
Yeah.
Like you're a top 6, 7 team, you're going to host a playoff game, and you're taking the LSU job. Well, you know what? I get it. I don't blame you for taking the LSU job. But you want to coach the playoff? Let's do it. Let's finish it. Finish what you started, and then let's see where Missouri is after that, because Missouri is going to be without him no matter what. So Ole Miss is going to be without Lane Kiffin no matter what. You can be without Lane Kiffin and maybe win a national championship, or you can be without Lane Kiffin and maybe lose in the first round.
Yeah.
And I would take, if I'm Ole Miss, I haven't won a national title since 1960. Like, Ole Miss thinks they're Alabama and they're great value Tennessee. Like, they aren't that.
They're not. It's just the.
But I understand
if
why.
It's just Lane going. If it was just Lane going, then okay. Yeah, I mean, all he's a figurehead anyway for the most part. All the mechanisms are in place. You can go in a few more games without him there. But I mean, I don't know what they're doing with all these position coaches who are going to be gone, and everything else. And so, I mean, look, the calendar for college football, that's an entirely other different discussion.
Right. There's so many different layers to this thing.
Yeah. In that, but I mean, I get Ole Miss. I mean, it's just, it's not like he's going to the NFL. It's not like he's going to a Big Ten team. He is going to LSU when we're on the cusp of a national title here. Yeah, it would have taken a lot of pride to swallow and say, yeah, go do this. But I like that precedent because this isn't going to be the only time this happens.
No.
Right? It's 12 teams now.
Yeah.
And guys move around all the time.
But it's like,
even faster now. And so
but like Lane
I would like
Kiffin's-
the standard to be like, if you have to decide by early January where you're going to coach next year, it should be stipulated, okay, you're going to keep coaching. For us the rest of the season.
Also, and if you can't trust him integrity-wise, that while he's around the kids that he won't be recruiting them to LSU, then why did you want him to be your coach anyway? So you clearly think he's a pretty terrible person. You think he's a guy with...
have you just started watching college
But that's
football?
my point, though.
They're all the same
right. But that's
people,
that's
and
the
it's just, you're on
hypocrisy
my
of the-
side. Okay, I can spin.
Exactly. Now that you have gone there, now I'm willing to say all the things that I've thought about you this whole time, but I defended you
When
because
has
you were
he
here
ever
for 6 years.
left a job under good terms? USC left him on the
tarmac.
He was at Tennessee
Al
for
Davis gave
1 year.
a presentation on the overhead projector in the elementary school when we pulled our desks up and watched Al Davis do that. Tennessee fans almost rioted outside of his house after the 1 year.
Just, I mean, how many is 8 years? How many years?
6 years at Ole Miss.
No, but the new
7
contract.
years.
7 years, 12 a year,
Almost
13.
13.
So that is $90
Yeah.
million. What are the odds anything less than 30 million, anything less than 30 million will be paid to him to not coach? I mean, he'll be there for 5 years.
Yeah.
And he won't win a title. He'll get close a couple times. I can just see the future. They've hired this guy before at LSU, right? A type, and they're not patient enough. He wears out welcomes. I just think it's a bad move by LSU.
He was making 9, so now he's going to be making almost 13. And he'll be the second highest
Finally,
paid
he
coach.
can put food on the table.
Yeah, that's right.
God.
Yes, in Baton Rouge.
Yes. Yeah, it's
But imagine
cost of living.
cost of living, so much better as opposed to Oxford. So I know that in no way, in no
I don't
world,
think you would be so level-headed like, you know what? I get Eli Drinkwitz going to LSU.
Going to LSU.
Good luck, buddy.
I mean, if Eli Drinkwitz went to Arkansas, I'd have an issue. LSU, we're in the playoffs.
rival.
Let's rock it.